Chapter 175 didn't come for nothing. Chapter 175 didn't come for nothing. Inside the valley, the water of the soul gathering pool had already turned transparent. All of the souls inside the pool water entered into the soul gathering pearl. He Ching Man seemed to extremely dislike Shiryan. After getting Mo Duanhuan's approval, she rode the wind thunder lion and immediately flew into the air with Xia Xinyan. They headed out of Cloud's Island ahead of the rest. Shiryan was in the valley. He sat on the cyan bloodbat and waiting. When he realized that there were no more souls inside the soul gathering pool, he spat a few more times at the soul gathering pearl. Once the spit fell on the pearl, it immediately formed into a white thin film that completely covered the soul gathering pearl. Once the soul gathering pearl was completely wrapped by the thin film, it no longer displayed the extraordinary use of absorbing souls. Mo Duanhuan was standing beside him while watching Shiryan's actions. He saw that the soul gathering pearl in Shiryan's hand absorbed all of the souls from the soul gathering pool. When he saw Shiryan spit on the soul gathering pearl, his expression became a little strange. But from the beginning to the end, Mo Dunahan didn't ask about anything. All right, we can get going now. Everything was ready. Shiryan carefully kept the soul-gathering pearl, and then finally smiled at Mo Duanhuan. Mo Duanhuan nodded. A wave of mind power was casted out, and the cyan blood bat below him immediately expanded its wings and flew up towards the direction of the wind thunder lion. A level 6 cyan blood bat had an extremely fast flying speed. However, Mo Duanhuan didn't rush, but instead he made the cyan blood bat slow down so that the other lower-level cyan blood bats could catch up. Ahead of them, the wind thunder lion that He Ching Man mounted on was also not flying very fast. It seemed to be waiting for Mo Duanhuan. Although He Ching Man didn't like Shiryan, she knew that this was still the Hengluo Sea. It was not under the control of the evil Wonderland, and they might even meet strong warriors from the Three-God sect, the Gu family, or the Dongfang family. Before entering the Kiara Sea, she didn't dare to distance away from Mo Duanhuan too far. Cloud's Island wasn't small. After Shiryan went ashore, it still took him a few days to get to the valley. However, once he sat on the cyan blood bat, it was many times faster flying from the top of the valley towards outside Yunxia Island. In just about half an hour, the cyan blood bats already flew out of Cloud's Island. After leaving Cloud's Island, Shiryan was just about to speak when he looked down and suddenly saw a familiar boat. Looking down condescendingly, he could faintly see that next to the messy pile of cargo in the back, there was a slightly vague, beautiful figure. The figure had her long hair flying in the wind, making her appear beautiful. Shiryan sighed in his mind. His expression appeared slightly gloomy. He shook his head lightly. In the sea, the boat slowly sailed. On the deck, Jet, Nano, and the rest all raised their heads. They pointed at the cyan blood bats that flew above while shouting, "Look, cyan blood bats! The Yang family's cyan blood bats! Shura blood guards! The one on the cyan blood guard in the foremost position must be the Shura King Mo Duanhuan. Hey, why is there two figures? The cyan blood bat that Mo Duanhuan is sitting on should be level 6. That cyan blood bat is in the lead, meaning that it should belong to the Shura King Mo Duanhuan. But who's the other guy? Who knows? It's so far away that I can't see clearly. That's definitely the most distinguished figure in the Yang family. Or else they wouldn't have the right to ride a level 6 cyan blood bat. The cyan blood bats have left Cloud's Island. I wonder how the negotiations between the Yang and Gu families went. How else could it be? You think the Gu family would dare go against the Yang family? It's hard to say. When we left from Cloud's Island, didn't we see the island get covered in darkness? Maybe some changes really happened on Cloud's Island? Who cares? Anyway, it has nothing to do with us. We are just in charge of delivering the things here. Jet, Nano, and the rest all raised their heads to look. They chattered amongst themselves. In the corner of the boat, Carmen and Jia scowled. They also raised their heads to look up into the sky while watching the two blurry figures on top of the cyan bloodbat. Linda stood at the area where Yen often sat, dazed. She didn't look into the sky, and no one knew what she was thinking. Hey, that guy. Jet's eyes were extremely sharp. After staring at the cyan bloodbat up ahead for a long while, he suddenly shook and seemed to have discovered something. Jet, what are you screaming about? Nano casually asked. Nothing. Jet shook his head. He suspected that his eyes were mistaken. When he wanted to look more closely, he realized that the cyan bloodbats were already far away. He could no longer see the figure on top. After hesitating for a while on the deck, Jet quietly came to where Linda was at. Seeing that Linda was still standing there dazing, Jet quietly sighed inside. He came to try to persuade her. Sister Linda, he won't come back. Before we left, didn't we wait for 2 days? He didn't come, meaning that he will never come back. Sister Linda, you should forget about him. Linda's dazed eyes slowly became sober again. She glimpsed at Jet and said lightly, What are you doing here? Jet hesitated. Spill it. Linda frowned and said impatiently, The Yang family's cyan bloodbats just flew over our heads. Sister Linda, did you notice? Shaking her head, Linda said, I didn't notice. Why? On the cyan bloodbat in the lead, there were 2 people. Jet continued. So there were 2 people. What's that got to do with us? Linda's pretty brows furrowed as she said impatiently, Jet, if there's something you have to say, can't you just say it directly? You keep muttering. What are you even doing? The cyan bloodbat in the lead are always of the highest level. The people who mount them also should be the most distinguished figures. It is said that this time the leader from the Yang family is the top of the 3 Shura kings, Mo Duanhuan. The one person sitting on that level 6 cyan blood bat should be Mo Duanhuan, but the other one... When Jet spoke to this part, he paused again. Linda was mad as she shouted coldly, Would you stop that already? What do you want to say? Sister Linda, you know that my eyes are quite sharp, right? Jet put up a wry smile. Your stealthy eyes are quite sharp. Linda nodded. Her expression was still cold. Why? I don't know if I was mistaken. Jet's face was filled with a bitter smile. I think that the other person that was sitting with the Shura King, Mo Duanhuan, should be Yen. Linda's delicate body shook as her eyes filled with disbelief. Someone who can sit with Mo Duanhuan is no normal figure. I might really have been mistaken. Sure, Yen is only in the disaster realm. No matter how you see it, he's not qualified to sit with Mo Duanhuan. Sister Linda, just see it as I'm bullshitting. I didn't see it that clearly either. Seeing that Linda's delicate body shook and that her expression drastically changed, Jet was startled. He immediately explained. Linda was already dazed. Her eyes were unfocused while she blankly looked at the cyan bloodbats on the sky that already formed into black dots. Her expression was extremely complicated. Could it really be him? Is Uncle Shao still alive? On the cyan bloodbat, Yen sat steadily when he suddenly spoke out of nowhere. Mo Duanhuan was truly something else. On the way, he was silent. He didn't ask anything about him, how he got out of the seizing of the ice-cold flame, nor what method he used that could suppress the soul of the demon Master Mojito. Yen prepared many lies that were originally prepared against Mo Duanhuan's interrogation, but he realized that he prepared for nothing. This guy was clearly curious, but he had held back and did not ask about anything. This made the lies that had Yen prepared completely useless. Mo Duanhuan and Xiao Hani were both Shura kings from the Yang family, but his personality was the exact opposite from Xiao Hani. Xiao Hani was arrogant and audacious. He was also a cultivation freak. But once he had free time, he would still joke with Shi Yan in an ill-mannered way and even tease about Shi Yan and Xia Xinyan's relationship. But Amo Duanhuin was different. This guy was almost like a piece of wood. Ever since Shi Yan mounted on the cyan bloodbat, he hadn't said a thing. He didn't speak on his own will, but Shi Yan still wanted to know some things about the Yang family and about Xiaohani. Since Yang Qingdi could predict that he was alive, then he must have been able to predict about Xiaohani. Shi Yan greatly appreciated Xiaohani, and he really didn't want anything to happen to him. Thus he wanted to ask. Alive? Amo Duanhuin answered crisp and simple. Ah. Shi Yan smiled wryly. In Immortal Island or the Demon Area? In the 4th Demon Area, he is temporarily constrained. The head of the family already went to the 4th Demon Area just to rescue him. Amo Duanhuin turned his head to look at Shi Yan once, and then finally said a few more sentences. This time when the Demon King Bo Sun's skeletal avatar reappeared, why did it return so quickly? Why didn't it attack us? The skeletal avatar attacks through the dimensions. Its powers cannot be completely exerted. Plus, if it were to attack, it would be greatly damaged afterwards. Amo Duanhuin explained, paused, and then continued. And he knows that I carry the image of universal nature with me. So that's why. Shi Yan nodded. The demon Master Mojito used a special method in order to have his soul appear to this place. He was summoned here using the power of thousands of souls. He was summoned here by the father and son Gulai and Gujanga, so he wasn't affected by the rules of the dimensions. Shi Yan didn't mention the soul-gathering pearl. He blamed everything on the thousands of civilian souls summoned by Gulai and Gujanga. He hinted that Mojito's arrival won't damage his soul, and that afterwards, when he returned to the 4th Demon Area, he still wouldn't have much injuries. The things concerning you, the ice-cold flame, and what happened inside the valley, you can explain them in detail when you return to Immortal Island and meet the head of the family. Amo Duanhuin nodded and then squinted. I don't want to ask about much. However, if you choose to tell me on your own accord, I will listen. If you want to listen, I can tell you some things. If you're not interested in listening, then I have no interest in telling either. Shi Yan chuckled. He felt that the old guy Amo Duanhuin was quite interesting. He clearly wanted to know, but he didn't forwardly ask. He wondered if that's him following rules, or just having a weird temper. Amo Duanhuin's lips twitched. His expression was strange. After a long moment, he finally said indifferently, You can say it. The ice-cold flame is inside my body. It didn't seize me, but I can't defeat it either. Right now, we are peacefully coexisting. Shi Yan smirked and then said lightly. Amo Duanhuin's eyes brightened. He stared at Shi Yan deeply for a long while, and then finally nodded slowly. It really is the case. I heard that to merge with the ice-cold flame, you need 9 of the most Yang-powered and scorching precious treasures. Does the Yang family have precious treasures like that? Shi Yan smiled. Yes, but only 3 of them. Amo Duanhuin's eyes became brighter and brighter, although they're not enough for now. But once you meet the head of the family, he should be willing to try everything to gather the rest for you. Once you are really capable enough to tame the ice-cold flame, all the materials you lack, the Yang family will think of ways to get them for you. Hee. I painstakingly came to the Endless Sea. Sure didn't come for nothing. Chapter 176. Exactly how strong? Chapter 176. Exactly how strong? In Shi Yan's perspective, Amo Duanhuin was a complete weirdo. He was always silent and barely spoke. If no one spoke with him first, he rarely opened his mouth. On the way, unless Shi Yan asked, Amo Duanhuin never spoke an extra word. He seemed to have no curiosity for anything. Shi Yan was determined to gain more understanding about the Kiara Sea. He didn't care whether Amo Duanhuin disliked it or not. As long as he had a question he wanted to know about, he would ask about it immediately. Mo Duanhuin never spoke on his own, but when Shi Yan asked, he would answer one by one. From Mo Dinahan, Shi Yan had gained quite a lot of information. In the Kiara Sea, there were three big forces. Other than the Yang family, there was the Xia family and the Evil Wonderland. In those two, the Evil Wonderland's power seemed to be slightly higher than the Xia family. The warrior forces in the Endless Sea were all unusual. Each had their mysterious and wondrous aspects. The Evil Wonderland was naturally no exception. According to Mo Duanhuin, in the Endless Sea, the Evil Wonderland was a very magical place. Legend has it that several millennia ago, a married couple accidentally entered into the Evil Wonderland and discovered many strange martial skills and unique treasures inside. They knew that the Evil Wonderland was a mysterious wonderland left from the ancient times, so they occupied the Evil Wonderland. Inside the Evil Wonderland, there were many kinds of wonders. The spirit energies there were extremely filling. It was one of the treasured lands in the Kiara Sea with the most vigorous spirit energy. The most magical thing about the Evil Wonderland was a soul nurturing room. The soul nurturing room was also the foundation of the Evil Wonderland. When talking about the specific circumstances about the soul nurturing room, Mo Duanhuin couldn't explain it very clearly. However, he told Shi Yan that the biggest use of the soul nurturing room was to breed martial spirits. Normally, if one person in a couple had a martial spirit, then their child will have a chance of inheriting a martial spirit. If both sides contained martial spirits, then their child would have an even bigger chance of having a martial spirit. They could even have the possibility of holding martial spirits from both of their parents. For instance, Shi Yan's body contained both the immortal martial spirit from the Yang family and the Shi family martial spirit. This type of person was someone blessed and loved by God and was very rare. However, when it comes to the children of most couples who have martial spirits, they might not be able to inherit martial spirits. The possibility of having double martial spirits was also extremely small. This natural law was also applicable in the Endless Sea. The reason why the soul nurturing room was intriguing was because it could increase the chance of a newborn child having a martial spirit. If a couple in which one of them had a martial spirit had intercourse inside the soul nurturing room, then the child they give birth to will have several times more chance of having a martial spirit compared with normal conditions. This was extremely magical since it almost countered the rules of the world. Every pair of parents who had martial spirits wished that their child would one day inherit their martial spirit. They wanted their own child to become one of the top and become a strong figure that would be seen by all. Because of that, there were many couples in the Endless Sea that would travel hundreds of li from other seas in hopes that they could have intercourse inside the soul nurturing room of the Evil Wonderland to raise the chances of a martial spirit for their future child. Of course, it was not that easy to get approval from the Evil Wonderland. The couples that came to the Endless Sea that wanted to enter into the soul nurturing room had to join the Evil Wonderland first and become their people. This was the most basic condition. Only insiders could have the right to enter into the soul nurturing room. In the past millennium, this rule had never changed. Other than that, there were also many types of other conditions. Normally, the Evil Wonderland would not accept the warriors from other forces in the Endless Sea. Even if they wanted to join the Evil Wonderland, the Evil Wonderland wouldn't take them in. To join the Evil Wonderland, one needed to have a clear background. They needed to be carefully inspected by the Evil Wonderland, and they needed to have strong warriors from the Evil Wonderland go deep into their memories and check everything through. Once it was ensured that there were no problems, then they would consider taking them in. Even people with clear backgrounds still needed go through the Evil Wonderland's test once again. They need to know the level and strength of the martial spirits of the parents. Only those with valuable martial spirits that would be beneficial to the future of the Evil Wonderland would be allowed passage. It could be said that the reason why the Evil Wonderland was one of the 15 great forces of the Endless Sea was because of the existence of the soul nurturing room. Without the soul nurturing room, the evil Wonderland wouldn't have been able to gather so many strong and capable warriors, and they also wouldn't have had that many useful strong warriors. Thus, when it came to the usage of the soul nurturing room, the evil Wonderland couldn't be more careful. He Ching Man was conceived in the soul nurturing room. She had the two different martial spirits of wind and water. The He family was already a family in the Kiara Sea with some reputation. One of He Chingman's parents had the wind martial spirit, and the other one had the water martial spirit. In order to make their child on top of others, He Chingman's parents approached the evil Wonderland. After the evil Wonderland carefully examined He Chingman's parents He Luo and Su Man, they became people of the evil Wonderland and obtained the right to enter the soul nurturing room. After He Chingman was born, she luckily inherited both of the two different martial spirits from her parents. She was immediately taken to the treasure land by the evil Wonderland and was trained as a genius with tremendous potential. She became the most outstanding young talent in the new generation of the evil Wonderland. The evil Wonderland was not a family. They had no martial spirit inheritance. They relied on the existence of the soul nurturing room to become one of the three great forces in the Kiara Sea. But the Xia family was different. Xia Xinyan's reincarnation martial spirit was inherited from the Xia family. All of the descendants that held the Xia family bloodline had the possibility of possessing the reincarnation martial spirit. However, the reincarnation martial spirit of the Xia family was also differentiated between strong and weak. Although many people from the Xia family had the reincarnation martial spirit, they were generally all just useless martial spirits. If their past life was not a strong warrior of the martial arts, then even if they had the reincarnation martial spirit, they still couldn't obtain much useful information from their past life. Some Xia family members were only gardeners, scholars, or students in their past life. Then the reincarnation martial spirit that they had would be nearly no help to their cultivation. These kinds of people had no importance in the Xia family. There were also some people who actually were warriors in their past life, but their realm was not high in the past life, being only in the disaster or earth realms. After obtaining the reincarnation martial spirit, the most they would have was understanding of the disaster and earth warrior realms, causing them to be on their own after those realms. These kinds of people had some status in the Xia family, but also did not have a lot of importance. In the Xia family descendants that had the reincarnation martial spirit, only the ones who were warriors in their past life and had an extremely high realm could be considered talented material. The reincarnation martial spirit could then use the martial understanding and knowledge from their past life to instantly have a breakthrough and quickly enter into a new realm whenever they encounter a bottleneck during cultivation. The higher the realm of the warrior in their past life, the faster their cultivation speed would be. Martial cultivation with no bottlenecks had an extreme advantage against normal people. The reason why the reincarnation martial spirit had a strong and weak difference was also because of a crucial standard. In the vast majority of Xia family descendants, they could only obtain the martial insight and knowledge of their past life after they obtained the reincarnation martial spirit, but they couldn't get the reincarnation power of their past life. However, there was a few minority that not only could obtain the martial insight of their past life, they could even borrow the reincarnation power from their past life in times of crisis. If their realm in their past life was extremely high, the reincarnation power that they would be able to borrow would also be very terrifying. Xia Xinyan was such a blessed child. Using reincarnation power, she could enter into the sky realm in a short time. That meant that in Xia Xinyan's past life, her strongest warrior realm should have been the true God realm. Only those who had cultivated to the true God realm in their past life would be able to shortly enter into the sky realm using reincarnation power after they obtained their reincarnation martial spirit in this life. This was extremely frightening. The past life being a true God realm warrior meant that before Xia Xinyan cultivated to the true God realm, she could use martial insight from her past life to prevent bottlenecks during cultivation. This meant that Xia Xinyan was sure to become a true God realm warrior. Someday, by relying on this reincarnation martial spirit and through accumulating and cultivating for some time, under the situation where there was no bottleneck, Xia Xinyan would eventually enter into the true God realm as long as she stayed alive. Just by that, the Xia family had no reason not to spend all their efforts on Xia Xinyan. Think about it, if the Xia family were to have a true God realm warrior in the future, what kind of height would the Xia family reach in the future of the Endless Sea? And also because of that, Xia Xinyan's status was outstanding in the Xia family. This time Xia Xinyan's soul was heavily injured, and if the Xia family were to know it had something to do with Shi Yan, they would probably become furious. They might even go confront the Yang family because of this. When Mo Duanhuan talked about the wonders of Xia Xinyan's martial spirit, he also hinted that the Xia family would probably become enraged, telling Shi Yan to be careful. When they get to the Kiara Sea and they meet people from the Xia family, he better have a sense of propriety and not speak rashly. Else, he would affect the many years of friendly relationship between the two families. On the whole way there, Shi Yan learned many things about the evil Wonderland and the Xia family through Mo Duanhuan. The evil Wonderland had the soul nurturing room, and the Wonderland itself was an ancient treasure land that contained many wonderful martial skills. Through the soul nurturing room, the evil Wonderland gathered many strong warriors all around and obtained many warriors with different martial spirits. Their force was like a net that spread across the Kiara Sea, having an extraordinary influence in many of the other seas. The Xia family's reincarnation martial spirit was mysterious and unpredictable. They could obtain the martial insight of their past life and quickly break bottlenecks during cultivation. Some were even figures that defied the course of nature, like Xia Xinyan, who were in the true God realm in their past life and could borrow the reincarnation power of their past life to enter the sky realm for a short amount of time. Whether it be the evil Wonderland or the Xia family, Mo Duanhuan's introduction caused Shi Yan to be stunned. Compared to the evil Wonderland and the Xia family, the four families of the Merchant Union was indeed many times weaker. The resources that they controlled was also much worse. In contrast, the evil Wonderland and the Xia family were already this strong and terrifying. Their forces were extremely magnificent. But in the Kiara Sea, they still willing to be under the Yang family and honor the Yang family as the true master of the Kiara Sea. Then, exactly how strong was the Yang family? According to what Shi Yan knew, the Yang family had been suppressing the evil Wonderland and the Xia family for centuries. In these centuries, the evil Wonderland and the Xia family had never dared to challenge the Yang family's position in the Kiara Sea. They always followed their lead. Through what power did the Yang family use that such strong forces like the evil Wonderland and the Xia family would be willing to bow to concede? Shi Yan was perplexed, so he asked Mo Duanhuan. However, Mo Duanhuan did not answer this question. He only said that once they get to Immortal Island, he will slowly understand. Shi Yan was filled with curiosity. He was looking forward to this journey to the Kiara Sea. Chapter 177, Firecloud Island. Chapter 177, Firecloud Island. Shi Yan bothered Mo Duanhuan the entire way. From his words, Shi Yan got a lot of information about the situation in the Kiara Sea. The wind thunder lion that He Ching Man rode flew ahead of them during the entire journey. It was not too fast nor too slow, keeping a distance from the cyan blood bats. Time flew by, and after half a month, the cyan blood bats officially stepped into the Kiara Sea. 6 days later, they finally arrived at Firecloud Island. Just when the cyan blood bats entered into the sky above Firecloud Island, a fiery ambience appeared in the air. This island's area was similar to that of Menluo Island. There were many volcanoes on the island, and the temperature was very high. But this island was rich in resources. It had many extraordinary minerals and some precious medicinal ingredients that liked high heat. The natural spirit energies on the island was also much denser than Cloud's Island. Therefore, on Fire Cloud Island, there were many cultivating warriors that were separated into some warrior forces. However, the warrior forces here, compared to the Yang family, the Evil Wonderland, and the Xiao family, were much weaker. The strongest of the warrior forces was the He family. He Luo was the master of Fire Cloud Island and also the person with the most authority on Fire Cloud Island. The many warrior forces on the island could all agree to that. Other than that, the He family certainly had outstanding capabilities. Another reason was that the He family was already a part of the Evil Wonderland. The islands in this area were all under the influence of the Evil Wonderland. The He family was like a branch of the Evil Wonderland and had made a talented genius like He Qing Man for the Evil Wonderland. There was no way that the He family wouldn't flourish. Under the blazing sun, the Fire Cloud Island was like a giant steamer. Heat waves rolled on endlessly, and even the dirt on the island seemed to contain fire energies. When they arrived above Fire Cloud Island, Shi Yan finally knew why He Qing Man dressed so lightly. The temperature here was so high, if she were to wear more, she would have probably been covered in sweat. He Qing Man stood on the body of the Wind Thunder Lion while her speed slowed down a little. It seemed like she was waiting for something. Soon, the cyan blood but that carried Shi Yan slowly moved closer to the Wind Thunder Lion. On top of the Wind Thunder Lion, He Qing Man's eyes were indifferent. She seemed to still hold a grudge against Shi Yan. However, when she was facing Mo Duanhuan, she was still quite respectful. She raised her voice and shouted, "Master Mo, since you came to Fire Cloud Island, please go rest in our family. If there is anything you need, we can talk about it then." The cyan blood bat was the symbol of the Yang family's Shura blood guards. When the cyan blood bat arrived at Fire Cloud Island, it had to have startled many warrior forces on the island. If the cyan blood bats went to the He family, then the Shura king Mo Duanhuan would be able to stay a night in the He family. To them, that would be a huge honor. If the warrior forces on the island were to know that Mo Duanhuan was residing in the He family, they would definitely respect and fear the He family more. The Yang family's status in the Kiara Sea was equal to the He family's status on Fire Cloud Island. As the leader of the 3 Shura kings, if Mo Duanhuan were to go to the He family, that would greatly raise the status of the He family. It would make the warrior forces on the island respect the He family more. He Manqing knew this, which was why she would put out the invite. She wouldn't give up this opportunity to raise the He family's authoritative power just because she hated Shi Yan. Mo Duanhuan's expression was stiff as he sat on the cyan blood bat, not immediately answering. Instead, he looked toward Shi Yan. The He family's head, He Luo, was only in the Nirvana realm. Although he claimed power on Fire Cloud Island in Mo Duanhuan's eyes, he was just an insignificant character. In the families that Mo Duanhuan killed in the Endless Sea, many were much stronger than the He family, but they were all easily slaughtered by him. He came this time just for Shi Yan. Through Shi Yan's talent and secrets, he realized that Shi Yan would become an important figure in the Yang family in the future, causing him to look at Shi Yan. He Qing Man saw that Mo Duanhuan looked toward Shi Yan, causing her eyes to suddenly turn cold. She snorted in her mind, thinking that her plans were about to come to nothing. "Sure, we came to someone else's territory. We have to meet the master, or else it would be too disrespectful." Unexpectedly for He Qing Man, Shi Yan smiled and actually nodded in approval. "We don't have to rush anyway. Let's rest, and then ask about the situations of the volcanoes on Fire Cloud Island. It would do no harm to my upcoming plans." "All right." Mo Duanhuan finally nodded, and then said to He Qing Man, "Lead the way." He Qing Man dazed for a second, and then finally turned around, riding the Wind Thunder Lion towards the center of Fire Cloud Island. On the top of the cyan blood bat, Shi Yan looked down and realized that Fire Cloud Island was really quite similar to Menluo Island. There were many volcanoes on the island, as well as plants that only grew in tropical regions. The cyan blood bats flew across the heat waves. Half an hour later, it appeared in the middle of Fire Cloud Island, and then slowly descended. This was a manor with hundreds of pavilions. Inside the manor, there were flowing streams and little bridges. Shrubs and plants were scattered around, and the pavilions here were all made of wood. They weren't too big or tall, and they gave an elegant and poetic feel. The cyan blood bats hadn't landed yet, but a line of warriors already walked out with stunned expressions. They each stood in a giant training field and looked up into the sky. When the cyan blood bats landed, Hiluo, who was in the lead, was even more surprised. He stood there at a loss of words. "Father, this is Master Amo. He came this time to Fire Cloud Island for some business, and specially came to our He family to pay a visit to us." He Ching-man was unruffled as she slowly came down from the Wind Thunder Lion and walked straight towards Hiluo. She shouted, "Master Amo, and I just returned from Cloud's Island. We are very tired from this trip. Father, tell someone to prepare a feast quickly." Hiluo's body was thin. He had wisps of long beard at his chin. He was outstandingly handsome and with a graceful demeanor, had the special charm of a mature man. Next to him, other than some strong warriors from the He family, there were some leaders of the warrior forces on Fire Cloud Island. Originally, they gathered here today to discuss business. Suddenly, they saw that there were cyan blood bats flying through the sky above, causing these people to panic. They didn't know why the Shura blood guards would appear on Fire Cloud Island, and hurriedly came out together to watch. When Hiluo heard that it was Emo Duanhuin who came, his face immediately was filled with wild joy. With a radiant face, he hurriedly came up and then bowed in salutation. He said, "Greetings to Master Amo. The He family is truly graced that Master Amo could come." The names of the 3 Shura kings of the Yang family were renowned in the endless sea. This was the first time for Hiluo, who lived in the Kiara Sea, to meet Emo Duanhuin. He was pleasantly surprised and nervous at the same time, so he greeted with great gestures. Emo Duanhuin frowned. He didn't say anything and only slightly nodded. Hiluo didn't think for a bit that Emo Duanhuin was roistering. With Emo Duanhuin's status, just nodding to him was giving him enough regards. Indeed, on the faces of the other family leaders of Fire Cloud Island that stood next to him, Hiluo saw some signs of envy. "Master Emo, please come in, please come in." Hiluo nodded and bowed, and raised his voice to shout, "Prepare a feast, bring the best wines and dishes. It is the honor of Fire Cloud Island that Master Amo can come. This must not be neglected." "Master Amo, I'll go change my clothes and groom myself. Excuse me." He Ching-man slightly bowed towards Emo Duanhuin, and then left with the Wind Thunder Lion. In the blink of an eye, she was gone without a trace. "Master Amo, this way, please." Hiluo personally went in front, and then tried to lead the way for Emo Duanhuin. His attitude was extremely friendly. Emo Duanhuin slightly frowned, and then turned his head to look toward Shi Yan. Shi Yan smiled casually and then lightly nodded. Emo Duanhuin finally approved. Hiluo and the many leaders on Fire Cloud Island were all extremely sensitive people. Their eyes all suddenly brightened, and couldn't help but look at Shi Yan. Their hearts were filled with surprise. Although Emo Duanhuin's movements were small, these people still saw it. As the leader of the 3 Shura kings, Emo Duanhuin actually personally consulted for this young man's opinion. "Who is this guy?" Hiluo's face slightly changed. He became a little scared. He feared that he neglected the honored guest, and then hurriedly tried to fix his mistake. "Master Amo, who is this young brother?" The Fire Cloud Island is only a small place. We rarely get the blessing of such honorable guests. My knowledge is not very broad either. I am truly damned that I almost neglected our honored guest." Shi Yan was stunned. Hiluo had the cultivation level of the second sky of Nirvana realm. The few people next to him were also each dressed in luxurious clothing, most having the cultivation in the Nirvana realm also. Just by standing there, they showed this prestige, having a sharp presence on them. They were obviously figures who often gave out commands. These people, when treating Mo Duanhuin, all flattered to please him. It was as if Mo Duanhuin nodding to them was the most honor there would ever be. Through these small details, it wasn't hard for Shi Yan to imagine exactly how distinguished the Yang family was in the Kiara Sea. Shi Yan. Mo Duanhuin answered indifferently, not bothering to explain. Hiluo and the rest were all obviously dazed, their eyes filled with surprise. Hiluo and the rest, although they never met the young talents of the Yang family, they had heard of their names. They knew which were the strong figures of the Yang family's younger generation, but they had never heard of the name Shi Yan. Shi Yan's last name was Shi. Could it be that he wasn't a Yang family member? If he wasn't a Yang family member, then why would Mo Duanhuin consult his opinion? A boy who wasn't even a Yang family member, for what reason did Mo Duanhuin care about him so much? Hiluo and the rest were inexplicably perplexed. They were all filled with confusion, but they didn't dare to neglect him. After chuckling for a second, Hiluo didn't dare to ask more as he hurriedly said, "Please come in. Please come in. Master, the cyan blood bats should be fed now." At this moment, a Shura blood guard suddenly called out quietly. Mo Duanhuin nodded, and then he instructed Hiluo, "Prepare some meats." Hiluo nodded repeatedly and then smilingly said, "Do not worry, we will guarantee your satisfaction, master." Then Hiluo raised his voice and shouted, "For the pride of our Kiara Sea, serve the cyan blood bats well." From behind the He family, there came sounds of beasts screaming. Soon, all kinds of fierce wild beasts were led out by He family members from behind, towards the training field. These lions, tigers, wolves, and leopards were all quite large and extremely fierce. But in front of the cyan blood bats, they were all shivering, seemingly very frightened. "Take them somewhere else to be fed. Let's not make their place too bloody." Shi Yan smiled, and then said to the Shura blood guards. These people immediately nodded, and each warned their own mounts. The cyan blood bats all suddenly flew up and directly grabbed up the wild beasts here, flying towards the distance. Under the cyan blood bats, these wild beasts actually didn't fight back. They were all obediently brought up into the sky, and soon disappeared without a trace. Soon enough, there came roars and screams of dying beasts from the distance. "Master Mo, little brother Shi Yan, please come in." Hiluo kept on his face, full of smiles, as he said while bowing. Shi Yan's expression remained unchanged. He followed Hiluo with Mo Duanhuin while walking towards the back of the He family's manor. Chapter 178. Want a bet? Chapter 178. Want a bet? Fire Cloud Island He family. In a giant, magnificent hall, there was a display of an array of fruits and delicacies. Aromatic fine wine was carried bottle by bottle. The atmosphere in the hall was enthusiastic. Hiluo's face was full of smiles as he kept toasting towards Mo Duanhuin. The other warrior force leaders on Fire Cloud Island also looked excited. Every time they toasted to Mo Duanhuin, they stood up on their own in the most respectful way. Mo Duanhuin sat at the highest seat in the hall. His face was indifferent and didn't move at all. Even when people toasted to him, he only slightly nodded and drained his cup. Shi Yan sat next to Mo Duanhuin. There was a faint smile on his face as he quietly observed everyone in the hall. These prominent people in Fire Cloud Island, when facing Mo Duanhuin, were all very courteous and smiled in flattery. If Mo Duanhuin slightly nodded at them, they would seem extremely flattered. To Shi Yan, that looked very funny. Mo Duanhuin was from the Yang family, and he was the leader of the 3 Shura kings. In the Kiara Sea, he was the most distinguished figure. The fact that he could come to the He family to sit and drink with these people was giving a lot of regard to the He family. Even the people who came to discuss important business with the He family were also following along to get the honor. These people may be considered with a very high status on Firecloud Island, but compared with Mo Duanhuin, there was an insurmountable distance. They weren't even qualified to enter Immortal Island. In the past, they only heard of the famous name of Mo Duanhuin and had never met him. Today they finally caught the opportunity. Naturally, they wouldn't let it go. They used all sorts of flattery to try to get a closer relationship with Mo Duanhuin, hoping that they would leave a good impression in Mo Duanhuin's mind. Even though the Fire Cloud Island was under the influence of the evil Wonderland, but it was what the Yang family say that counts in the Kiara Sea. They have to travel through the Kiara Sea all the time. If someday they were careless and annoyed the Yang family, then if Mo Duanhuin could say some good words for them, it could even save their entire force. Therefore, when they were treating Mo Duanhuin, it could be said that they were the most dedicated ever, just in hope that they could leave some good impression. Of course, because of a small detail from Mo Duanhuin before, although they weren't clear of Shiryan's true identity, they were still very careful. When trying to please Mo Duanhuin, they didn't forget Shiryan and frequently toasted to him. Sure, Yen didn't reject any of them. Whenever someone toasted to him, he would drain his cup without a trace of arrogance. Because the temperature on Fire Cloud Island was very high, the tropical fruits produced here also had their specialties. They were sweet and delicious. Naturally sure, Yen didn't hold back. He tasted each of these fruits and seemed quite comfortable. Midway during the feast, Hiluo let out a command, and many beautiful girls dressed in exposing clothing, wearing light veils and holding instruments, came slowly. These women's bright eyes were seductive. They exposed their fair-skinned arms and flexible waists, dancing in the empty space of the hall. They occasionally winked at Mo Duanhuin and Shiryan, with a flattering look that seemed like they were offering themselves. Mo Duanhuin didn't show any reaction to this. His expression was stiff, like he doesn't seem to care about this. Shiryan's expression was also indifferent. He didn't overly expose his true nature. He drank his wine, while smilingly looking at the beautiful, slim, and graceful girls at the same time. The 7 girls were all young and beautiful. Their bodies were curvy, and when they danced, their breasts bounced, looking very seductive. The most rare thing was that these girls seemed to know their mission. They also knew that the ones sitting in front of them were all distinguished figures. They would dance their bodies in front of Mo Duanhuin and Shiryan, vaguely displaying the most wonderful parts of their bodies, looking as if these men were allowed to do whatever they want. Hiluo's face was full of smiles while he secretly observed. Whenever Mo Duanhuin and Shiryan displayed any interest, he would later make arrangements to make these girls go find Shiryan and Mo Duanhuin at night, to offer up the even better wonders of these women's bodies for Shiryan and Mo Duanhuin to slowly taste. Mo Duanhuin never liked women. This point, most warriors of the Kiara Sea knew clearly. Hiluo secretly observed for a while, and also realized the Mo Duanhuin really seemed to have no interest in beautiful women. He had a general idea of things in his mind, so he threw away the thought of presenting these Mo Duanhuin. Instead, he put more attention on Shiryan. Although Shiryan didn't reveal his true nature, but when seeing these beautiful things, he didn't fake or hide anything. His eyes showed a look of admiration, and he openly looked at the bodies of all these beautiful women. Hiluo's heart felt happy. He slowly got a good idea, and once the feast ends, he was planning to let these 7 girls go to Shiryan's room together and let him select any of them. Soon, these 7 girls quietly left, but before they went away, these 7 girls secretly threw winks at Shiryan with their amorous eyes. These 7 girls are the 7 gold flowers of our Fire Cloud Island. They are still virgins and have very high standards. Normally, when honored guests come, They would dance to one song and leave quickly. But today I see that these 7 girls are quite fond of little brother. They kept looking towards him. Little brother sure has outstanding charms. After those 7 girls left, Hiluo laughed and said casually. There was a smile on Shi Yan's lips. He slightly shook his head. Of course he knew what Hiluo meant. He also knew these 7 girls were definitely the most precious treasures of Hiluo. The reason why Hiluo would keep these girls as virgins was to use them at crucial moments. Normally, he would be unwilling to take them out because he didn't find any truly distinguished figures to please. When Hiluo said it this way, it was obvious that he was going to pay a very high price. If Shi Yan nodded, Hiluo would probably make arrangements immediately. Later these girls might directly appear in his room. Shi Yan was clear of the situation. If it were in the past, with his personality, he would probably not pretend to be a good guy all, and would happily enjoy pleasure. But now Xia Xinyan was still unconscious, and it was due to her trying to save him. This gave Shi Yan a giant pressure in his heart. He didn't have the heart to mess around with girls, and thus shook his head to refuse Hiluo's good intentions. Hiluo was slightly surprised. He thought that with Shi Yan's age, he shouldn't have much resistance in front of beauty. These 7 girls were carefully selected by him. Each had the most attractive appearances. Plus they had sexy bodies and were all virgins. Hiluo had a lot of confidence in these girls. Even when he was facing these 7 girls, it was often hard for him to control himself. He secretly observed Shi Yan for a while. From Shi Yan's expression and the look in his eyes, he thought Shi Yan definitely wouldn't refuse this appealing proposal. So when Shi Yan shook his head, Hiluo was very surprised. Father, to achieve his goal, this guy would sacrifice any incredible beauty, mindless 7 little golden flowers. Then, at this moment, He Qingman's sweet voice suddenly came from behind the hall. Just when her voice came, He Qingman slowly walked here, and her beauty shocked all. He Qingman wore a purple thin dress. The hem of the dress was embroidered with beautiful flowers. Her long hair laid on her shoulders like silk, and her long thin amorous eyes were filled with sparkling charm. After taking off her veil, her cheeks were pink and cute. Her beautiful lips were luring. Her skin was fair as snow, with a strange glow like that of jade. Her curvy, beautiful figure was enchantingly attractive. Inside the hall, the eyes of many warriors brightened. Their expressions were all a little intoxicated. For a while, the hall that was originally loud with chatter actually strangely became quiet. Even Mo Duanhuan raised his head and glanced at He Qingman, and was surprised by her impressive beauty. Shi Yan glimpsed at He Qingman. His eyes also abruptly brightened. Although he didn't like this woman, but he was still mesmerized by her beauty. He Qingman actually had the same level of extreme beauty as Xia Xinyan. Xia Xinyan was noble and graceful, while He Qingman was enchanting and charming. Although their styles were different, they were both born incredibly beautiful. Whether it be their faces or their bodies, all were perfect. Old He, your little girl really grew to be more and more pretty. I wonder which family's boy would get the pleasure in the future. A red-faced man called Wu Mu couldn't help but compliment. Qingman is really a bright pearl of our Kiara Sea. Ai. Too bad my boy's potential is not that great, and didn't get chosen by the evil Wonderland. He probably won't have a chance in his whole life. Wu Mu, with your family's boy, he dares craving for something he's not worthy of? This girl Qingman would definitely become an important figure in the evil Wonderland. In the Kiara Sea, even if boys from the Xia or Yang families tried to woo her, the evil Wonderland probably won't allow it. Let's not think of it. Right? Qingman is the most precious treasure in the evil Wonderland. Only young, strong warriors from the evil Wonderland like Xia Kuei would have the possibility of being approved by the evil Wonderland and have the right to pursue Qingman. Old He, you really have amazing luck. You got a good daughter. The many people in the hall all smilingly praised, and admired that He Luo had great luck. He had a daughter that was not only incredibly beautiful, but also had the double martial spirits of wind and water. She was treated as a genius with potential, and helped the He family into becoming the master of Firecloud Island. Their future power would definitely increase as He Ching Man gets stronger. He Luo laughed. He was also quite joyful as he said, "You guys work harder. Maybe you would be able to give birth to a good talent in the future, haha." He Luo purposely dodged He Ching Man's accusation toward Shiryen. He didn't know who Shiryen was, but he knew that Mo Duanhuan valued Shiryen very much. Just by that, he wouldn't dare to insult Shiryen. Shiryen frowned. He pretended as if he didn't hear He Ching Man's words. He only dismissively glanced at the charmingly beautiful He Ching Man and stayed indifferent. "We can discuss business now." Mo Duanhuan sat up straight and said lightly. In his eyes, He Luo and these people weren't any important figures. They weren't even from the evil wonderland. In the moment, he was only dealing with them, and didn't say much on the feast. Because of He Ching Man's outstanding talent, plus she was a strong warrior with potential in the evil wonderland, her future was boundless. Therefore Mo Duanhuan took a slight bit of attention with that, and only brought up the business about this journey when He Ching Man appeared. All right. He Luo smilingly stood up. He glanced at the many warriors in the hall and smiled. "It's quite late now. Little brothers, shouldn't you go back and rest now?" These people were quite understanding. They all stood up when they heard him. With smiles on their faces, they said their goodbyes with Mo Duanhuan and Shiryen. They actually wanted to stay and listen, but unfortunately Mo Duanhuan didn't open his mouth to say anything, so they didn't dare to hang on and stay. In a mere moment, these people all left without a trace. Soon, the leftover delicacies and wine in the hall were cleaned up by the He family's maids. Then the unimportant personnel all disappeared too. All that was left was the father and daughter He Luo and He Ching Man, sitting firmly in front of Mo Duanhuan and Shiryen. "Why did you come to Firecloud Island? Why do you want to find a 10,000-year-old volcano?" He Ching Man's eyes were bright. Her sweet voice spoke while staring at Shiryen. "I want to save Xinyan." Shiryen frowned and said with a deep voice, "A 10,000-year-old volcano can save Sister Xinyan." He Ching Man's face was filled with disbelief. She shook her head and said in disdain, "I have never heard of that. What has awakening the soul got to do with volcanoes?" "There are a lot of things you haven't heard of." Shiryen was indifferent. He said lightly, "If I said I can save her, then I can. You want to bet?" "Bet. What are we betting on?" He Ching Man's interest suddenly surged as her bright eyes sparkled. Dash. Chapter 179. I'll bet with you. Chapter 179. I'll bet with you. What to bet on? He Luo and Mo Duanhuan both looked at Shiryen, wondering what he wanted to bet on. Shiryen was slightly dazed too, as his expression froze. He was only joking and didn't really want to bet on anything at all. But once the words came out of his mouth, he realized that He Manching seemed to be very interested, and she immediately replied. This somewhat took him by surprise. The smile on He Luo's lips suddenly froze. He said awkwardly, "Ching Man, your bad habit is back again." What Shiryen didn't know was that this enchanting beauty He Ching Man liked to make bets with people. Her whole life, she would bother others to make bets because of many small things. He Luo had quite a headache due to her strange quirk. He sometimes wondered why this girl loved betting with people that much. When Shiryen casually mentioned betting, He Luo immediately knew that his daughter would definitely ask back and would never let this bet go. He knew that He Ching Man not only liked to bet with people, but her gambling manners were also not great. When she won, she would be cheery and joyful. If she lost, she would get furious. Once he heard that Shiryen was going to bet with her, He Luo couldn't stop smiling bitterly in his head, knowing that this would be bad. "Father, leave this to me." He Ching Man glared at him, She raised her head and said arrogantly, "All my life, when I bet with other people, I rarely lose." Right, of course you wouldn't lose. Everyone knows that once you lose, you would definitely burst out in anger, and we use all sorts of methods to get rid of the humiliation. Who would dare to win against you? Hiluo's face was bitter. His expression was turning more and more strange. "Come on, what do you want to bet on?" Hiching Man was excited, her cheeks were flushed, and her amorous eyes were gleaming with mysterious light. She intensely stared at Shuryen, looking truly like an obsessed gambler. Shuryen was stunned. He looked at her with a weird look in his eyes. "How do you want to bet?" "However you want." Hiching Man snorted lightly. She said arrogantly, "Anyway, I definitely won't lose." "Fuck." Shuryen's brow twitched. His temper got provoked by her. He squinted at her and scanned her from head to toe. There was a lecherous look in his eyes. "Asshole, what are you looking at?" Hiching Man's bright eyes were filled with rage. "I'll gouge your eyes out." Hiching Man was in the first sky of Earth Realm, in the young generation of the evil Wonderland. She was one of the top strong warriors. Even in the entire Kiara Sea, it was very rare to have someone so young step into such realms. The evil Wonderland must have spent a lot of precious medicines and treasures to make her so overbearing. "What am I looking at?" Shuryen slightly squinted his eyes and had an idea in his mind. His smile also slowly became strange. He provoked her. "Naturally, I'm looking at you. How about this? If you lose, you'll strip down naked and let me look at your body for 1 minute. Dare to take the bet?" "Bastard! What did you say?" Hiching Man suddenly stood from her seat. Her entire face was flushed, and she said in anger, "I dare you to say that again." Hiluo dazed for a second. His expression also darkened. He snorted, "Little brother, molesting my daughter in front of my face isn't very appropriate now, is it?" "I was just joking." Shuryen laughed and shook his head. "Then there's nothing worth betting for. Honestly, I don't lack anything, so if there is no interesting thing to bet on, I won't bother betting with you." "You." Hiching Man clenched her teeth and glared at Shuryen fiercely. Her breasts rose as she breathed, and her eyes were gleaming with cold light. Hiluo snorted lightly and tried to persuade her. "Ching Man, just forget it. I see that he was just joking. He meant no offense." "What do you have?" Hiching Man bit her bottom lip. She took a big breath in and sneered. "Want to see my body? Do you have enough for the bargain? It's not that I don't dare to make the bet, as long as you have a good enough bargaining chip. I don't mind making a big bet with you." "Are you for real?" Shuryen's face was full of surprise. He smiled bitterly. "I really was just joking. Are you actually thinking about betting?" "Ching Man!" Hiluo roared. Hiching Man's status in the evil Wonderland was special. She would definitely become a distinguished figure in the evil Wonderland in the future. Hiluo knew that his girl was what many young talented men in the Liara Sea dreamed of, and that they were obsessed over her. He could easily send the 7 gold flowers to Shuryen's room without hesitation, for Shuryen to do as whatever he pleased. But with his precious daughter, he loved her dearly. He didn't want Hiching Man to be damaged in any way. If this time Hiching Man were really to lose the bet, then with Mo Duanhuan's position in the Yang family, if they were to really hold on to this, he really couldn't deny. If Hiching Man were really to be seen naked by Shuryen, this would have a huge impact on her reputation. It could even make Hiching Man unable to find a good spouse. Maybe even the evil Wonderland would blame them. He couldn't afford it. He also didn't want to use his daughter's reputation to bet for some item. "Father, leave this." Hiching Man insisted. She raised her head and her face turned cold. "I just won't believe that he can awaken Sister Xinyan." Sister Xinyan's soul was heavily injured by the demon Master Mojito. The reincarnation martial spirit defended against his one wave of attack, but due to the power of his attack, her soul got in disorder. Now her memories from the past few lives are all tangled up together, and she fell into the deepest level of stillness. I don't even know a method to make Sister Sinyan wake up. He Qing Man simply explained what happened in that valley on Cloud's Island. He Luo was startled upon hearing that. His expression was extremely appalled. The demon Master Mojito's soul befell, and the demon king Bo Sun displayed his skeletal avatar. The scenes that happened inside the valley made He Luo dumbfounded. He could never have imagined that Xia Xinyan's injury was a heavy damage to her soul, plus that the one who attacked was the demon Master Mojito. A while ago, when Xia Xinyan was carried into the backyard by He Qingman's Wind Thunder Lion, He Luo thought Xia Xinyan only got injuries on her body, so he didn't put it to heart. He also knew that once Xia Xinyan's reincarnation martial spirit gets used and borrows the reincarnation power from the past life, afterwards her body would be heavily damaged and would possibly go unconscious. He always thought that was Xia Xinyan's situation. Now that He Qing Man said it, he realized that Xia Xinyan's injuries were much worse than he had imagined. As the master of Fire Cloud Island, with his cultivation in the Nirvana realm, He Luo had heard about injuries to the soul. Back then, the Xia family also had another strong warrior who had the same type of soul damage, and was mixed in with the memories from the past life. Then he never woke up, and became someone who was as good as dead. He Luo knew that even the Xia family would probably not be able to do anything. At the time, the Xia family had a strong warrior who had the same situation as Xia Xinyan. In order to wake up that person, the Xia family used all their power. They even went to find the evil Wonderland and the Yang family to figure out a solution. The three forces discussed this together and seemed to have found a method. At last they tried it, but not only did it not make that person wake up, it actually made that person's soul collapse and caused an early death. From that time on, situations like this became a difficult problem with no solution, which was also why when Mo Duanhuan knew about Xia Xinyan's condition, he shook his head and sighed. A type of problem like this that even the three forces couldn't solve together. What makes this kid capable? He Luo dazed for a moment. Then when he looked at Shi Yan again, he also thought that Shi Yan was just kidding. He definitely wouldn't have the power to awaken Xia Xinyan, so He Luo had rest assured. He Qing Man saw that her father stopped talking. She naturally knew that her father realized Shi Yan would not win. He Qing Man snorted and looked at Shi Yan in disdain. Do you know my worth? You want to look at my body. Do you have enough of a bargaining chip? Qing Man. He Luo coughed and frowned. Little brother was just kidding. Don't take it too seriously. Due to Mo Duanhuan's high regard of Shi Yan, He Luo was also scared that if he Manqing urged too much, Mo Duanhuan wouldn't be happy. Besides that, even though he knew that Shi Yan would lose, He Luo still didn't want to use his daughter's body to bet on such a thing. After all, if the word of this spread, it wouldn't be very pretty and it would still impact his daughter's reputation. Seeing that He Qing Man was so aggressive, Shi Yan, who was just going to let it go, suddenly frowned. She had actually provoked his anger. Taking in a deep breath, Shi Yan was silent. He quietly opened the backpack behind him and took out 7 different colored, but all bright and gleaming demon crystals. These 7 demon crystals all came from level 7 demon beasts. 7 pieces of level 7 demon crystals. Once the 7 demon crystals came out, the hall was lit up with light. The bright crystal lights dazzled the eyes and shone dreamy lights into the hall. Mo Duanhuan's eyes brightened. He looked at Shi Yan and felt a little surprised. Demon crystals! He Luo exclaimed, what level are these? Level 7. They're all level 7 demon crystals. Shi Yan said in a deep voice. He Qing Man was also stunned. A strange light flashed across her beautiful eyes as she blankly stared at these 7 pieces of level 7 demon crystals. Level 7 demon beasts were comparable with Sky Realm Masters. Demon crystals were also the source of power for demon beasts. They had many incredible uses. Not only could they be used as a main ingredient in a medicine, but they could also temper and refine other godly weapons. For some warriors that cultivate secret skills, if they obtain a demon crystal of the same element, they would definitely improve greatly in power. Even in the endless sea, demon crystals were extremely precious items. Level 7 demon crystals were even more rare and precious. Not to mention 7 pieces at once. 7 level 7 demon crystals. 2 in them are of the wind element. 1 is of the water element. Mo Duanhuan stared at these 7 demon crystals for a while, then said these words abruptly. The father and daughter Heluo and He Ching Man both shook. Their faces were filled with disbelief. The martial spirit on Heluo was of the wind element, and He Ching Man had both elements of wind and water. If these level 7 demon crystals were to fall upon their hands, it could possibly greatly improve their martial spirits, and even evolve the martial spirit one step more. Heluo felt like his breathing was becoming rapid. The look in his eyes also became more and more passionate. 7 pieces of level 7 demon crystals. I'll put all of them as bargaining chips. Shi Yan's expression was indifferent. He looked deeply at the beautiful-bodied He Ching Man and said lightly, "Is that enough?" He Ching Man's pretty face was flushed. Her breathing was rapid and her bright eyes gave off a stunning light. Her teeth bit on her lower lip as she stared straight at Shi Yan. Heluo licked his lips. He wanted to advise He Ching Man not to take the deal. But looking at those 2 pieces of level 7 demon crystals of the wind element, he couldn't let any words out. Those 2 level 7 demon crystals of the wind element were too perfect for him. His eyes couldn't even move away from those 2 demon crystals. I'll bet with you. After a few repeated deep breaths, He Ching Man suddenly clenched her teeth and shouted. Her beautiful, supple face was filled with determination. Dash. Chapter 180 depends on my mood. Chapter 180 depends on my mood. That night, the father and daughter Heluo and He Ching Man, after Shi Yan and Mo Duanhuan left, were still sitting in the hall. Ching Man, what is the background of that kid? Why would Master Mo value him that much? He's the Yang family's lost child. He had been living in a remote area all along. After Yang Qingdi came out of his deep cultivation, he seemed to have used the great oracle to find him. That is why he sent people there to escort him back to the endless sea. He Ching Man thought for a moment, and then said, "This person is heartless." Because of him, Sister Xinyan blocked Mojito's soul attack. But not only is he not sad, he can even smile at that. He is truly the most faithless person. How would the Xia girl know him? The area where he was sent out a letter saying that a fragment map of a gate of heaven appeared. Sister Xinyan was ordered to go investigate about the gate of heaven and happened to meet him. I don't know why, but Sister Xinyan seems to attach a lot of importance to him. I can see that Sister Xinyan seems to have some feelings for him. He Ching Man explained to Heluo about everything she knew of Shi Yan. This kid should be 21 years old right now. With the cultivation level of the second sky of Disaster Realm, he's not that weak. Heluo pondered for a moment and furrowed his brows. But in the Yang family there are many boys who can reach to his level. Why would Yang Qingdi value him that much? I heard from Sister Xinyan that he only started cultivating the martial arts at the age of 17. Before the age of 17, he had no trace of profound qi on him, which means that in the short span of 4 years, he reached to the second sky of Disaster Realm. Even I didn't believe it. I thought Sister Xinyan might have been exaggerating. What? Heluo's face changed. How is that possible? Even in our endless sea, there is no one who can step into such a high realm in such a short time. How is that possible? I didn't believe it either. It shouldn't be true. Heluo was silent for a moment and then shook his head. No one can cultivate to such a profound realm this fast. There is no force in the endless sea that would be able to do that. Needless to say, that remote little place. I also thought Sister Sinyan might have been fooled by him. Qingman nodded. Qingman, this bet really shouldn't have been made, Hiluo sighed. Why shouldn't I? Qingman frowned with her pretty brows. She snorted with her sweet voice. He was the one that insisted on giving us the demon crystals. It would be a waste not to take it. I don't believe that he can solve a problem that even the three forces combined couldn't solve together. I know he can't do it. Hiluo nodded. He naturally thought that Shurian definitely wouldn't be able to do anything. But if we just took his 7 pieces of level 7 demon crystals through bet, it wouldn't be your poper. Master Mo is watching this. Afterwards, wouldn't he think that us two are swindling him? Humph. Qingman's pretty face was angry. This pervert. He dared to have those thoughts about me. Then he deserved it. I'm afraid that if the Yang family knew about this, they would feel resentful. Hiluo sighed. It's not easy for the He family to reach its place now. You know about the Yang family's forces in the Kiara Sea. If the Yang family were to feel discontent, then your father, I would have to do everything with caution from here on after. If the Yang family were to catch our wrongdoings, then our entire family would crumble. Father, you're thinking too much. Although the Yang family is arrogant, they wouldn't be that unreasonable. Qingman comforted him. Besides, our He family is a part of the evil wonderland. Even if the Yang family gives no regard to our family, they would have to give some face to the evil wonderland. They wouldn't act recklessly. Hopefully that will be the case. Hiluo was still a little worried. He pondered for a moment and said, Afterwards we will just take those 3 pieces that are of the wind and water elements. Although the rest are just as precious, they are not what we need. Taking 4 pieces less means that even if the Yang family were to know, they shouldn't really become angry. That depends on how he will behave. Qingman raised her head and said angrily, He is too despicable. How dare he ask of such a rude proposal? If I don't teach him a lesson, then he'll really think we're easy to bully. Humph. I'm doing this to avenge Sister Sinyan too, so this heartless guy can know that women are not to be messed with. Hiluo shook his head and gave a wry smile. Oh dear, why would you even take this kind of bet? Fortunately, only the 4 of us know. Or else if this news gets out there, it would be very harmful to your reputation. Father won't tell. I definitely won't tell either. And Master Mo is not that kind of person. This kid will lose for sure. So, naturally, he won't tell such an embarrassing thing. There is nothing to worry about. Qingman didn't care. No one will know, so there won't be any rumors. Father, you rest assured. After Qingman put it this way, Hiluo thought it for a second, and also slightly set his mind at ease. That's true, no one will know about this, and this won't affect you either. I hope that kid would keep his mouth shut, so he won't speak recklessly when he gets drunk, or else it would really be bad. How dare he? Qingman clenched her teeth and said coldly, If I were to know about it, I will teach him a lesson. The He family's backyard in a spacious room. Mo, Duanhuan frowned. In a rare manner, he actually chose to speak on his own. Back in the day, there was one person in the Xia family that had the same symptoms as the Xia girl. It's also a problem with the reincarnation martial spirit, and the memories got in disorder. That person had outstanding talent. For him, the Xia family came to the evil wonderland and us to find a solution. The 3 forces together thought of one method, to try to awaken that person, but failed in the end. And instead, that person died early. Mo, Duanhuan raised his head and stared at Shurian. Even the 3 forces couldn't solve this problem. Young Master Yen, why are you so confident? You also don't believe I can solve this? Sure, Yen smiled indifferently. Mo, Duanhuan furrowed his brows. It's not that I don't believe, only that I don't know. I don't know if there is a method to solve this problem. I know you don't believe me. Shi Yan smiled. He didn't really care. But don't worry if I dared to use 7 pieces of level 7 demon crystals to make a bet. Naturally, I would have some confidence. With things I am not certain of, I would never accept that straightforwardly. Don't worry, I won't be the one to lose. The He family's girl has a great relationship with the Xia family's girl. Even if you won, are you really going to let the He girl strip down naked to let you look for a minute? The look in Mo Duanhuin's was extremely strange. Depends on my mood. Shi Yan chuckled. Maybe I'll look and maybe I won't. We'll see. Mo Duanhuin dazed for a moment and shook his head. After a while, Mo Duanhuin seemed to suddenly remember something, and then said again, Young Master Yan, are you really going to go into a 10,000-year-old volcano? Inside the heart of the 10,000-year-old volcano, the fire is too strong. Even I can't easily follow you down if you were really to get in. You have to be very careful. I know. The core fire of the 10,000-year-old volcano is one of the many types of earth fire. It is one of the 9 most scorching, yang-powered strange treasures in the world. If you can see the core fire, then you should collect it if you get the opportunity. But the core fire is extremely hot. It needs a special container to put in. The materials needed to make that container aren't very rare, and it is not very hard to make either. Our Yang family has a few, but I don't have any on me right now. Tomorrow we can ask the He family to see if the He family has that sort of container. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He said, Enjoy. Core fire! If making the container of the core fire is not hard, then since the He family has stayed on Fire Cloud Island for so long, wouldn't they know how to gather core fire? Impossible. Mo Duanhuin shook his head. The container for the core fire is not very precious, but the core fire itself is. Even if they had that sort of container, to obtain the core fire, first they have to enter the heart of the 10,000-year-old volcano. Even I wouldn't dare to go into the heart of the volcano. It would be even more impossible for the He family to have that capability. Is that so? Young Master Yan has the ice-cold flame, so you actually have the opportunity to enter into the heart of the volcano, but others don't have that kind of ability. Mo Duanhuin nodded. I will ask He Luo tomorrow. If he doesn't have it, I will send a message to the Yang family and ask them to send the containers here. But that would take up more time. All right. The morning of the second day, He Luo personally came to greet Mo Duanhuin. Mo Duanhuin was very direct. After nodding, he immediately asked, Does the He family have purified bottles? Purified bottles, a type of bottles made from combining 8 types of cold metals and minerals. It could be used to contain the core fire. The purified bottles weren't very precious, but normal people didn't know how to make them, because after making the purified bottles, they could only be used to contain the core fire and had no other use. Only the masters who wanted to collect the core fire would make these in advance. Normal weaponsmiths wouldn't try to make purified bottles. Purified bottles? He Luo dazed. The purified bottles that can contain core fire. Mo Duanhuin nodded. I will go ask my good-for-nothing son. That kid doesn't learn the right paths. Instead, he always likes to play with these little things. A while back I heard he wanted to make purified bottles, hoping that one day he would have the luck to collect core fire. I don't know if he made it or not. He Luo hesitated for a moment, then said, Please wait for a moment, Master Mo. I will send someone to call him here immediately. Okay, come. A haggard-faced old man appeared shortly. He stood firmly in front of He Luo and said respectfully, I am here. Call the boy he lie here if he has any purified bottles on him. Then tell him to bring them here directly. He Luo instructed. I will. After 5 minutes, a lazy-looking He Qing man with her bright eyes and a little fat boy who looked somewhere above 10 years old came together. Under the morning sunlight, He Qing man was radiant. With her beautiful figure and long beautiful legs, she walked in an amorous way. It dazzled people's eyes. Sure, Yin glanced at her and quietly praised her in his mind. He had to admit that this woman was truly extremely beautiful. That enchanting temperament could really make any man's heart skip a beat. The little fat boy behind He Ching Man looked somewhat like He Luo. Unfortunately, his body was fat, the look in his eyes was a little perverted, plus his back was a little arched. Next to He Ching Man, he was really tragic to look at. Mo Duanhuin, also dazed for a second, he looked at He Lai and asked He Luo with a strange feeling, "This is your little son?" Cough, cough. He Luo was a little embarrassed. He chuckled dryly. "He was born from me and my wife's servant. His potential is a little poor and has an unruly nature and wants to become a weaponsmith very badly. So he plays with his mess of stuff all day. But because he doesn't have a fire martial spirit in him, so no real weaponsmith would want to accept him as an apprentice. This kid often borrowed fire from the volcanoes here to make some little things, although they're hard to make into distinguished places. But sometimes he can really make some useful things. Father, what did you find me for?" After coming here, He Lai said smilingly, "Sister was making me prepare some materials that will assist her in absorbing wind and water-type demon crystals. I'm busy right now. I don't have any free time." "Shut up." He Ching Man threw a glare at the boy. He Luo was also a little awkward. He kept checking. Sure, Yan's expression didn't change, but he snorted coldly inside. From the looks of things, the father and daughter, He Luo and He Ching Man, seemed to have confirmed that he was going to lose for sure. They actually already started preparing to absorb the wind and water demon crystals. They really didn't take him seriously. Chapter 181. Winning and losing are very important. Chapter 181. Winning and losing are very important. Do you have purified bottles? He Luo glared and coldly snorted with his face was filled with discontent. The little fat boy, He Lai, was startled. He secretly glimpsed at Mo Duanhuin and Shi Yan. The fat on his face piled up as he pushed an ugly smile. "There are purified bottles, but only semi-finished products. I gathered all of the materials and put them inside a small volcano's lava for 7 days. But it only made the prototype of the purified bottle. The density of the smelting process was not enough. The firepower was not enough either. The temperature of the lava is limited. I still can't refine all of the impurities in the materials." The little fat boy put up a crying face. He took an ugly-looking, dark brown bottle with many spots covering it. He Luo frowned. "Is there a way to make this semi-finished product complete? If I can find lava with higher temperature, give me half a day, and I will be able to make it into a finished product." He Lai's eyes brightened. "But if the temperature of the lava is too high, I won't be able to handle it. So I tried to finish it. Plus, I also think that I probably don't have a chance of obtaining an earth fire. So I stopped thinking about it afterwards." "You brat, you can't do anything right." He Luo yelled out in anger. He shook his head and sighed. "If you can put some thought into just one thing, in the end you wouldn't have achieved nothing at all." He Lai was also a warrior, but he was only in the 3rd sky of Nascent Realm. He Luo spent quite a lot of efforts on him. Every time He Ching Man returned from the evil wonderland, she would also use some of her hidden elixirs on her naughty little brother. But this kid was really disappointing. Up to now, he was still in the 3rd sky of Nascent Realm. This gave quite the headache to He Luo and He Ching Man. Although He Ching Man and He Lai were born from different mothers, but since He Lai's mother was the servant of He Ching Man's mother, and she had been with He Ching Man's mother since she was little, she was very close with He Ching Man's mother. Plus, although He Lai was naughty, he was still very close with his sister. This also made He Ching Man like He Lai a lot, and she had been taking care of this little brother all along. Even though they had different mothers, these siblings were very close. Seeing that He Lai was so disappointing, He Ching Man also secretly felt angry. She threw a fierce glare at him. He Lai felt extremely wronged. He dropped his head low and murmured under his breath, "You guys won't help me, If you were to have helped me, I would have made the purified bottles long ago. I even begged you guys before to let you guys accompany me to a volcano to refine it. Shut up, Hiluo scolded. Before, when Hiluo knew Hilai wanted to make purified bottles, he only thought that Hilai was being ignorant and incompetent. Making purified bottles needed some quite uncommon materials. Plus, after they were made, if one cannot collect core fire, then they would still be useless. Therefore, Hiluo did not care about this, and when Hilai begged him, he actually yelled at him. He didn't know that Mo Duanhuin would need this thing. Now, after Hilai spoke, it seemed that he was actually at fault. This really made Hiluo so angry that he wanted to punch someone. It's all right. Shuryen smiled. Find a volcano and we can just refine it again. Let's go together. I can't handle volcanoes that are too hot. Hilai shook his head repeatedly. His face was full of fear. I've tried. I almost got cooked alive. If no one can give me protection, I wouldn't dare to. This is for you. Sure, Yen thought this kid was quite interesting. He casually took out a green moonstone and threw it to Hilai. He smiled. Take this stone. From now on, if you want to refine something, you can go to a volcano with higher temperature. No need to worry about being cooked in there. This piece of green moonstone contained the cold energy of the ice-cold flame. Touching it would make one's entire body cold. With the cold energy's protection, indeed, he should have no fear of entering places of high temperature. Hey, it's so cold! Hilai caught the green moonstone and immediately exclaimed. He hurriedly used a piece of thick oilcloth to wrap it. He said, Enjoy. Not bad, not bad. Inside there is very strong cold energy. With this treasure, I would be able to make purified bottles. It would definitely be no problem. Shuryen smiled and then said, Be careful where you put it. If that thing were to be hit forcefully, it would explode. The cold energy inside would all burst out. It can immediately make a disaster realm warrior freeze to death. Hearing this, Hilai got startled. The fat on his body jiggled as he anxiously held on tight to the green moonstone. Who made this thing? The little fat boy looked at the green moonstone he observed for a moment and suddenly shook his head. This is made very badly. There are still many impurities on the surface. There are even more impurities inside. The fire power is not enough, and the skill used to make this is extremely poor. It's a pity for the cold energy that it contains. If I were to have material that is as good as this, I would make something several times better than this. This is truly a waste of great resources. The guy that made this thing is too much of a rookie, such a waste. The little fat boy kept shaking his heat and sighed repeatedly. He didn't see the look on Shuryen's face getting ugly. Stop this nonsense. Hiluo saw Shuryen's face and angrily knocked on Hilai's head. He said angrily, You are given this thing, and without even a thank you, you dare to be choosy? You want to die? After Hilai got knocked on the head by Hiluo, he finally reacted, and his fat face pushed a flattering smile. He nodded and bowed to Shuryen. Big brother, thanks. Even though this thing is really badly made, but it's very useful to me. Thank you, thank you. Shuryen didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at Hilai. He shook his head. You're welcome. If you can't take care of the purified bottle, then I will take the thing back. Don't worry, don't worry. You will definitely be satisfied. Hilai chucked. It's really easy to make the purified bottle. If it weren't that I didn't find the right place, I would have made it long ago. If there's nothing else, we can go now. Shuryen nodded. All right. Hiluo looked towards Mo Duanhuin and said, Master Mo, can we follow along? Yes. Mo Duanhuin's expression was indifferent. He nodded. We will go out on the cyan bloodbaths together. Hilai, you will lead the way. First find a volcano that can refine the purified bottle. Then go to the biggest 10,000-year-old volcano on Firecloud Island. Shuryen and Mo Duanhuin sat on that level 6 cyan bloodbat. Hiluo's family sat on another cyan bloodbat. Together, they flew out of the He family towards the closest volcano. Soon, the cyan bloodbats landed on the top of that volcano. Heli used a thin silver glove to hold the green moonstone. He came down from the cyan bloodbat and gazed towards the opening of the volcano. His fat body walked around, and after a moment he raised his voice and said, "I need to go a little more down." The top of the volcano was filled with scorching heat waves, and it was extremely hot. At a gap, there were actually stone stairs going down. The stone stairs were obviously made later. God knows who made them. Heli seemed to have come before. He easily walked down through those stone stairs. His fat body slowly descended into the volcano. Heluo was worried. Seeing that Heli went down, he informed Emo Duanhuin and also followed along. He raised his voice. "Brat, go slowly. If you fall down, all that fat on you will immediately turn into oil and water." "Father, can you not scare me?" Heli exclaimed from inside. "I've came here before, it's only that last time I didn't dare to go down too deep. But now that I have this stone, and even Father is here, there is no risk at all. You better be careful." Heluo snorted, although he scolded with his words. But he still followed Heli into the volcano and slowly walked downwards. Heluo actually cared very much about this son. Although He Qingman had outstanding potential, and it made the He family gain extreme amounts of honor. But He Qingman was only a woman. Sooner or later she had to marry. And she was also a strong warrior that was painstakingly brought up by the evil Wonderland. To Heluo, He Qingman might become the biggest support of the He family in the future. However, the job of continuing the bloodline of the He family cannot be passed on to He Qingman. Instead, it was Heli who would take on this big responsibility, and he would also be in charge of the He family. Even though Heluo hit and scolded Heli every day, but inside he knew that He Qingman could never stay in the He family. There was only Heli who would securely stay in the He family, so the safety of Heli was still very important. Very soon, the father and son disappeared from the opening of the volcano. Occasionally you could hear Heluo scolding Heli and Heli's complaints. Shiryen, Emo Duanhuin, and He Qingman stood on a protruding fire rock not far away from the opening of the volcano, watching the top of the volcano. The hot wind blew. He Qingman's hair flew in the wind. Her beautiful body was hot and sexy. Her pair of amorous eyes stared with brilliance, having an enchanting charm. Shiryen frequently looked at the top of the volcano, then looked towards He Qingman. In his mind, he kept imagining He Qingman stripping naked, and how stunning the scene would be when her body were to be revealed. He looked at He Qingman, and the look in his eyes was slowly turning impure. His eyes were shining, as if he had already stripped all the clothes off of He Qingman. He Qingman subconsciously turned around and lightly glanced at Shiryen. Then she immediately realized the strangeness in the look in Shiryen's eyes. "Asshole, what are you looking at?" He Qingman was extremely angry. She suddenly thought about her bet with Shiryen, and from the look in Shiryen's eyes, she immediately realized what he was thinking. She was so angry she almost wanted to attack. Shiryen lightly smiled and said, "Nothing, I was only thinking about our bet." If he didn't say it, it would have been fine, but when he did said it, He Qingman's entire face turned embarrassingly red. She shouted, "I forbid you to think of it." Sure, Yen shook his head and didn't bother talking with her again. He Qingman angrily glared at Shiryen. Her breasts trembled. She secretly clenched her teeth and shouted coldly, "The thing with our bet, I forbid you to tell anyone about it. If you dare to gossip, I will never let go of you. Usually when I get an advantage, I would secretly enjoy it myself. I'm not that stupid." Sure, Yen couldn't hold back a chuckle. He didn't know why, but just thinking that soon this beautiful, enchanting woman would strip down naked on her own in front of him, his mood brightened. Even with He Qingman's horrible attitude, he didn't feel that resentful anymore. He Qingman glared at him. "You think you can win?" "Who knows?" Sure, Yen smiled casually. "It's hard to say about anything. Those who think they will definitely win might not win. Although I don't have 100% confidence, but I won't necessarily lose. All things are unpredictable. Until the last moment, no one knows how the result will be. But I'm really quite looking forward to it, hee. After He Ching Man heard him say this, for some reason, her heart felt a little uneasy. Because of Shi Yan's calmness, her confidence was cut down a bit. He will lose for sure. He will never win. What am I thinking about? I need to have confidence in myself. He Ching Man shook her head. She regained her steadiness and looked at Shi Yan in disdain. She raised her head and snorted coldly as she regained confidence again. Dash. Chapter 182, Under the Flames. Chapter 182, Under the Flames. At the top of the little volcano. He Luo and He Lai had already entered into the volcano. He Luo protected He Lai and occasionally scolded him as they went deeper. He Lai seemed to have started concentrating on refining the purified bottle as he stopped his rebuttals. Soon, He Luo also stopped speaking, as if he was scared he would disturb He Lai. On the edge of the volcanic crater, Shi Yan, Mo Duanhuan, and He Ching Man also stopped talking. After half a day, He Lai, whose face was covered in sweat, excitedly held a bright green purified bottle and appeared at the crater. As if offering a treasure, he shouted, "Success!" The purified bottles that were refined again were now green as jade and crystal clear. Its appearance was obviously improved a lot. Shi Yan smiled and nodded. "Give me the purified bottle. That rock is yours." "All right." He Lai smilingly walked forward and passed the purified bottle to Shi Yan. He triumphantly said to He Luo, who poked his head in, "Did you see that? I can actually refine purified bottles. The reason why many of the things I made before were unsuccessful is not because I have bad skills, but because the environment isn't hot enough. Hee, as long as you give me good circumstances, I won't be worse than other people. Actually, I have a very high possibility of becoming a weaponsmith. Without a fire martial spirit on you, don't ever even think about being a true weaponsmith in your lifetime." He Luo snorted coldly. "In the future, you should be more obedient and stop thinking about weaponsmiths. Raising your cultivation up is better than anything." He Lai put up a bitter face and nodded. "Let's go to the 10,000-year-old volcano." Once he obtained the purified bottle, Shi Yan's objective was reached. He wasted no more time and looked at Mo Duanhuan. "All right." Mo Duanhuan called the cyan blood bat, and the two mounted together. They rode the cyan blood bat, flying into the distance. He Luo's family seemed to also be very interested in Shi Yan going into the 10,000-year-old volcano. By this time, they should have had no more business to do with this, but they still mounted the cyan blood bats of the Shura blood guards, and they too flew towards the 10,000-year-old volcano on Firecloud Island. After an hour, a towering, magnificent volcano that was tens of thousands of feet high suddenly appeared in front of Shi Yan's eyes. This volcano was extremely high, rising straight into the clouds. Wisps of hot firelight appeared from the crater of the volcano that hid in the clouds. Glancing over the scene, it seemed as if the sky was on fire. Before they arrived at the crater of the volcano, the heat waves already blew into their faces. It felt like they were in a giant furnace. Temperature was so hot that they almost couldn't breathe. He Ching Man and her family followed far behind Shi Yan and Mo Duanhuan. They watched this area from the top of a level 5 cyan bloodbat. The level 6 cyan bloodbat under Shi Yan was also started to get irritated. The closer it came to the crater of the volcano, the slower it became. Even 10,000-year-old volcano has a high temperature that was extremely fiery. It had lava that could even melt metals, and the heat waves made its surroundings lifeless. Neither human nor beast would dare to easily get near it. Although this cyan blood bat was of level 6, but its body still cold and icy dark caves. The high heat of the 10,000-year-old volcano was very unbearable to it. Mo Duanhuin knew that the cyan blood bat under him did not want to get near the crater of the volcano, but he still frowned and patted its neck. Once patted by Mo Duanhuin, the cyan blood bat immediately got more tamed. It fearfully and slowly approached the crater of that volcano. That cyan blood bat ridden by the He family members had stopped long ago. All three had a surprised expression on their faces and looked at Shi Yin from afar. "Qingman, that kid is really only in the second sky of Disaster Realm." He Luo blankly gazed toward Shi Yin, feeling slightly perplexed. "You grew up on Firecloud Island. You should know how high the temperature is at the crater of this volcano. Let alone Disaster Realm warriors, even those in the Earth Realm, might still be unable to hold up against the blazing heat wave at the crater of a 10,000-year-old volcano. But that kid seems to have no issues. I see that Mo Duanhuin didn't help him either. If he can't even hold against the heat wave at the crater, how would he dare to go down into the volcano?" He Qingman's pretty brows furrowed as she said lightly, "Into the volcano." He Lai suddenly screamed. His fat face was filled with horror. "Isn't it supposed to be Mo Duanhuin?" He Luo's face also changed. He looked at He Qingman with a strange expression. "How can it be him who is going into the volcano?" He Luo and He Lai both thought that the one who was going into the heart of the volcano should be the Shura King Mo Duanhuin. Now that they heard He Qingman say this, they were completely shocked. Mo Duanhuin was in the third sky of the Sky Realm. Such a realm does make it justifiable for him to enter the 10,000-year-old volcano. But what makes Shi Yin capable? No matter how He Luo and He Lai thought about it, they couldn't figure anything out. He was once almost seized by the ice-cold flame, although I don't know what is his relationship with the cold ice flame now. But since he dares to enter the 10,000-year-old volcano, then it's got to have something to do with the ice-cold flame. Without the ice-cold flame, with just his low cultivation, once he drops into the heart of the volcano, he would be immediately burnt into ashes. He Qingman said lightly, "Ice-cold flame? Sky fire?" He Lai screamed repeatedly. His fat face was filled with excitement. "I'm starting to admire him. That is so cool. Really cool." The ice-cold flame couldn't seize him. He Luo also dazed. His face looked confused. "The core fire is inside the fire crystal jade. Take this dragon-slaying sword. It is just the right thing to shatter the fire crystal jade." Mo Duanhuin had straight up pulled out the dragon-slaying sword from inside Gu Jianga's body. He gave it to Shi Yin and explained, "The hornless fire dragon sword spirit inside the dragon-slaying sword is connected to Gu Jianga's soul. As long as Gu Jianga's soul lives, it would be very hard to tame the hornless fire dragon. I only temporarily sealed the soul of the hornless fire dragon. Fortunately, breaking the fire crystal jade doesn't need the hornless fire dragon. You only need the sharpness of the dragon-slaying sword and its fire elemental qualities." "All right." Shi Yin nodded. He grabbed onto the dragon-slaying sword. He released a beam of mind power to probe around, and indeed he noticed that the sword's spirit inside was sealed by a massive power and couldn't move at all. Normal weapons inside the lava of the 10,000-year-old volcano wouldn't be able to handle the blazing heat at all. They could even be burnt into a pool of liquid metal. But the dragon-slaying sword was smelted using many kinds of metals and minerals of the fire element. It was not afraid of the high temperature of the lava inside the 10,000-year-old volcano, so it was the most fitting weapon to use to break the fire crystal jade. Once the fire crystal jade is broken, the core fire would dissipate into the lava very quickly. The power of the earth fire would be temporarily scattered around. Only until the core can reform a new fire crystal jade can the core fire gather together again inside the fire crystal jade. To have a new fire crystal jade form into shape, it would need at least 100 years. So if you want to obtain the core fire, you have to use the purified bottle to collect it before the core fire dissipates into the lava. Mo Duanhuan said again. All right. Shi Yan nodded. He said lightly, Don't worry, I know what to do. Be careful. Mo. Duanhuan frowned. Whether it be the core fire or other things, they are only an objective of yours. They don't have to immediately be achieved. But you only have one life, and that is the most important thing. Remember not to strain yourself. I know I'm going down now. Shi Yan smiled, sinking his consciousness into the blood vein ring. Shi Yan finally called upon the ice-cold flame. I'm already at the crater of the 10,000-year-old volcano. Guard me on my way down. All right. Wisps of chilling cold energy abruptly flowed out of the blood vein ring and quietly into Shi Yan's body. Shi Yan's body quickly froze up at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. In a mere few seconds, his entire body formed crystal clear, hard ice. Shi Yan looked as if he turned into an ice sculpture. His body was glistening. There seemed to be pure white lights flowing in the ice. I'll go now. Shi Yan's body flew straight towards the crater of the volcano and suddenly dropped down. Plop! Inside the crater of the volcano, there suddenly came the sound of a heavy object falling in. Waves of lava splashed out, scaring the cyan blood bats as they screamed and hurriedly dodged. Mo. Duanhuan frowned. He stared into the volcano for a while. Then he rode the cyan blood bat and left. The 10,000-year-old volcano was like an upside-down funnel. The crater is the pointy end, and as you enter you will realize that the interior gets wider and wider. The lava inside the volcano bubbled with fire. Strong heat waves evaporated from it, and hot smoke lingered above. Inside the lava, Shi Yan, who was completely frozen, sank down quickly, covered completely by the ice-cold flames' hard ice. Inside the lava, Shi Yan realized the fire lights flashed all around the sea of lava that he was in. Bubbles keep forming in the murky lava, and they quickly floated to the top. This was a deep pool formed by the lava, and the firepower was strong. The more he went down, the higher the temperature of the lava became. If normal disaster realm warriors were to accidentally fall into this pool of lava, then within 3 seconds, all their flesh and bones would be melted. With Earth realm warriors falling into the surface of the lava pool, without special protective martial skills and secret treasures as support, they could hold for a short while at most. In the end, they would still be melted. Nirvana and Sky realm warriors could maybe move around the surface of the lava pool, but once they get deep into the bottom of the lava pool and sank for a few thousand meters, they would definitely not be able to hold against fiery liquid that was 10 times as strong, while it burned away their bodies. However, relying on the protection of the ice-cold flame, Shi Yan was able to slide straight down into the bottom of the lava, safe and sound. Be careful inside this pool of lava. There may be special forms of life. There may also be fire demon beasts that rely on the core fire to cultivate. Be alert of these things. Don't suddenly get taken by surprise. Inside the blood vein ring, there came the ice-cold flames warning. Special forms of life? Fire demon beasts? Shi Yan's face slightly changed, his brows furrowed deeply. In a harsh environment like this, there can still be life that managed to survive. There are countless magical and mysterious things in this world. The miracles of life are everywhere. Anything is possible. Under any extreme harsh environment, there is the possibility of the existence of special living beings. The more extreme the environment is, the stronger the living beings inside will be. The ice-cold flame's message came, but inside the lava pool, even if there is some sort of life forms, you don't need to be too scared. The life forms that live here have to be of the fire element. My power can suppress them. You only need to be careful. As long as you don't get killed, you can use my power to fight back. Okay, I'll be careful. Pop! Just when Shi Yan's words came out, a giant fire bubble suddenly popped next to him. Then, a cat-like demon beast, with its body as red as burning iron, suddenly leaped towards him. Dash. Chapter 183. The Heart of the Volcano. Chapter 183. The Heart of the Volcano. Sponsored by Friend's Favor. Dash. This demon beast was not very big. Its body was fiery red color, as if it was built by pouring liquid metal with a very high heat. Sure, Yen had just communicated with the ice-cold flame, and he immediately realized that a demon beast came out of nowhere. When he saw that demon beast, there were only 2 meters between them. There was a bright red horn on the head of the demon beast. It sparked with firelight as it pierced towards him. Shi Yen was slightly surprised. Without thinking much, he swung the dragon-slaying sword in his hand and slashed towards it. Under the heavy blow, the body of the demon beast was slashed, and it went back for 5 or 6 meters. They cannot step onto flat ground inside the lava, so Shi Yen was also blown back for several meters from the force. Firehorn Beast, Level 4 Demon Beast. It lives by consuming the fire rocks inside lava. Its horn is very hard. It's a high-quality material for making weapons of the fire element. When making this dragon-slaying sword, the horn of the Firehorn Beast was used. The attack of the Firehorn Beast is also mainly dependent on its only horn. It's very easy to fight against. The ice-cold flame's message came from inside the blood vein ring. After getting the message of the ice-cold flame, Shi Yen lifted the dragon-slaying sword and coldly glared at the Firehorn Beast. He suddenly concentrated his mind power, and wisps of deep cold spirit plus the mind power formed into a shock wave that shot straight towards the soul of the Firehorn Beast. Level 4 Firehorn Beasts have no defense on their soul. Under the impact of the soul attack from Shi Yen, it immediately got heavily injured and escaped in panic. Inside the mind power of Shi Yen, there was some cold energy that came with it. Inside this lava pool, against the living souls of fire element creatures, it had an obvious restraining power on them. After being hit once by his soul attack, the Firehorn Beast's soul was badly hurt, and it didn't dare to come near him anymore. The more deep one went into the lava pool, the more spacious it became. Once the Firehorn Beast escaped, it immediately left no trace behind. Although the horn of level 4 Firehorn Beasts were quite decent forging material, but Shi Yen paid no attention to it. With the extraordinary status of the Yang family in the Kiara Sea, the piles of cultivation material on Immortal Island had whatever he needed. It had a lot of materials that were more precious than the horn of the Firehorn Beast. Naturally, Shi Yen couldn't bother to chase the Firehorn Beast. You are still very far from the earth core of the 10,000-year-old volcano. The more you go down, the higher the temperature of the lava will be. If there really exists special life forces down there, then it will definitely be much more powerful than the Firehorn Beast. Inside the Earth's core, if there are life forces other than the core fire, then we will have to leave immediately. If there are really things that can survive next to the core fire, then it will definitely be very frightening. No matter what, it's not something you can handle. If I can't handle it, what about you? If you can release me from the ring, then I can freeze this entire 10,000-year-old volcano. No matter what is in the Earth's core, I won't be scared. But if you get killed, and I am sealed by this stupid ring, left in the Earth's core of this 10,000-year-old volcano, I might not be able to resurface the Earth again for another few thousand years. Shi Yen didn't answer. He just frowned and continued to sink deep into the lava. With the ice-cold flame's reminder, Shi Yen became more careful. He released his mind power, and the mind power that contained the presence of the ice-cold flame spread out from him, as it showed deep intention of warnings. He sank all the way down in the lava pool. Shi Yen used his mind power, and it actually did sense a few living consciousnesses that were not so weak. Those living consciousnesses were all of the fire element. Shi Yen's mind power peeped at them, and he realized that those life consciousnesses were all like clusters of fire. With the icy cold energy that went along with his mind power, those life consciousnesses didn't dare to get near him. They all went far out of their way to avoid him. A few life consciousnesses among them, from Shuryan's view, seemed to be comparable to the soul strength of Nirvana realm warriors. Kid, you're pretty smart. You used my cold energy to warn those guys. The ice-cold flame sent out a message from inside the blood vein ring again. Cold energy from me contains my presence. I am the natural nemesis of those life forces. The guys that live down here are much smarter than that firehorn beast. They felt the presence of their nemesis, so naturally they ran fast. Sure, Yen didn't bother with it. He continued to release his mind power. He carefully and cautiously spread it out, while being alert of any life consciousness that might suddenly pop up. Through the use of mind power for this, while he paid more and more attention to the pure soul power inside the soul gathering pearl. Mind power has special uses in some special areas. Like this time, if he didn't have the ice-cold flame's mind power along with him, he might have had to waste much more effort to battle with the creatures that surrounded him. He would need to block against a wave of their attacks first, in order for them to understand the existence of the ice-cold flame, to make them quit. Some strong creatures could suddenly appear inside the lava pool. If they were really to uncontrollably bombard him, then maybe he won't even be able to hold against one wave of attacks. If he were to be killed directly, then there would be no way for those guys to realize the existence of the ice-cold flame. If he could use the soul power inside the soul-gathering pearl to evolve and refine his soul, and form a sea of consciousness inside his mind, and have a soul consciousness, then his power would step into an entire new level. Using the sea of consciousness and soul consciousness that exceed his level, when in a battle he would dominate, and the warriors of the same level would play in the palm of his hands. Thinking about it that way, Shuryan's eyes brightened a little bit more. The ice-cold flame really didn't seem to be bragging. It seemed to be the true nemesis of the fire element life forces here. When Shuryan spread it out his mind power that brought its presence the many kinds of fire life forms that Shuryan could sense, all avoided him and hid on their own. They didn't want to get near him at all. After God knows how long. Suddenly, the ice-cold flame sent its consciousness again. Be careful now. You are almost at the Earth's core of the volcano. Stop first, and we can both sense our surroundings to see if there are life forces down there. If there is a life that exists, then you and I will leave immediately and give up on this mission. All right. Sure, Yen controlled his body and used profound qi to form into two little swirls under his feet, making his body stay in place. Releasing his mind power, he slowly reached towards the bottom of the lava pool. 50 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters. He had no discoveries. His mind power didn't touch anything that might hide the existence of life. The lava down below was just more and more thick and hot. It spread it out evenly, and there was not a specific area where the fire power was extremely heavy. An area with a fire life must have fire power that was stronger than other areas. If he didn't feel any place that had such abnormalities, it meant that there really were no fire lives under there. His mind power continued to search downwards. Suddenly, a mass of extremely fierce fire power fluctuated from one corner. When Shuryan's mind power touched that fire power, his soul felt as if it was burning. His body suddenly shook, and he almost couldn't hold back a scream. Only a portion of the mind power that he released came back. The portion that touched the fierce fire power was immediately burnt up by the fire, a fire that could even burn mind power. Shuryan's face changed drastically. He quickly made a decision and immediately stirred all of the profound qi in his body to float up. He could feel that inside that fire power there was a very slight life consciousness. It instinctively hated the approach of any sort of life. The life consciousness of that fire power was extremely weak. So weak that if Shi Yan wasn't extremely cautious all along, he might not have even sensed it. But the heat of that firepower could even burn up mind power. This was truly a little too frightening. He closely remembered the ice-cold flame's words. If he sensed that there might be an existence of life down there, no matter what type of life it was, he had to immediately retreat. Sure, Yin already did that. Wait. The ice-cold flame's consciousness quickly came from inside the blood vein ring. Wait! The life force down there should be the core fire. The core fire? Shiryu was surprised. The difference between earth fires and sky fires is that one has a life consciousness and the other doesn't. It's just a pure fire source. How could the core fire have a life consciousness? It's already evolving towards being a sky fire. The ice-cold flame immediately answered. After the core fire exists for several tens of thousands of years, it would slowly nurture a life consciousness. The core fire down there should be at the moment of transforming into a sky fire. Its life consciousness has just started forming. It has no knowledge of anything, only instincts. The core fire is evolving into a sky fire. Sure, Yin suddenly remembered the liquid core fire essence he got from searching a group of warriors when he was in the dark forest. Back then, Mu Yudi once said that the core fire essence was the core fire of a 10,000-year-old volcano. It was a precious and wonderful thing that was formed before transforming into a sky fire. The core fire essence was in between the state of a solid and a liquid. It was very magical and could greatly improve fire-type martial spirits. Remembering back to that experience, Shi Yan immediately realized that the core fire in this 10,000-year-old volcano should have also been at the time of transformation, rising from an earth fire to a sky fire. It's transforming into a sky fire. This moment is relatively safe. The ice-cold flame sent out the message. Then tell me what to do. Don't release your mind power to search. Instead, just go directly into the bottom. Transformation from an earth fire to a sky fire also needs a process. It might need a year or even 10 years. At this time, the consciousness of the core fire is at its most simplest. If someone were to put their soul imprint inside the core fire at this moment, they can rein it in. The ice-cold flame's consciousness became a little reluctant in the end. It seemed to be hesitating a little and didn't continue. What, rein in the core fire? But Shi Yan heard it loud and clear. His face was full of joy as he hurriedly sent a message to the ice-cold flame. Tell me, what should I do? I didn't think I would have such great luck. You have to promise me first if I can help you collect this core fire. You can't have ideas about me again. When you reach the Nirvana realm, you have to let me go and cannot restrain me anymore. If you obtain this core fire and your cultivation rises to the Nirvana realm, by that time I won't be able to do anything to you anyway. Sure, Yin didn't immediately answer. The ice-cold flame was a sky fire. After the core fire obtains a life consciousness, it would also be a sky fire. However, there is a difference between higher and lower rank sky fires, whether it be the wisdom or the power. Sky fires that were made through later transformations, like the core fire, would not be as wonderful as a fire that was formed when the world was first born, like the ice-cold flame. The reason why Shi Yan had to make purified bottles on this trip to gather the core fire was to prepare for taking a hold of the ice-cold flame in the future. The rumors about the type of sky fires like the ice-cold flame had long been deeply embedded in Shi Yan's mind. He knew that if he could reign in a type of sky fire like this, it would have immeasurable benefits to his future. Now the ice-cold flame was willing to help him collect this core fire that was almost transformed into a sky fire, but decided to propose the condition of leaving the blood vein ring. This made Shi Yan a little conflicted. He was hesitating at the moment. Of course, he could pretend like he promised the ice-cold flame and go back on the promise in the future after he collects the core fire. But he was not that type of person. So you are someone that values promises. The ice-cold flame sent out a happy message from inside the blood vein ring. I am happy you did not immediately agree. If you did, then I would definitely know you were being insincere. But you are not talking, and instead you are weighing your options. That means you value your promises, and you don't want to lie to me. Shi Yan continued being silent. If you immediately responded me and lied to me, I definitely would have killed you. Because if you were to really obtain the core fire in the future and manage to find enough resources, then when you reach a higher realm, you really would be able to control me. Instead of being controlled by you, I would rather kill you and wait for other opportunities here. Shi Yan was still silent. Since you really are weighing your choices, then I really can make a deal with you. Because you value promises, so I can really dare to make a deal with you. The ice-cold flame seemed to finally made a decision after gaining this understanding about Shi Yan. How's this? Before you reach the Nirvana realm, I will use all my knowledge to help you break through faster. In my soul, there are the memories of the martial understanding of a few God realm masters. These are utterly useless to me. But to you, these unseeable things might be more precious to you than obtaining me myself. Chapter 184. Approve. Chapter 184. Approve. Sponsored by Friend's Favor. Shi Yan suddenly flipped. Ice-cold flame was indeed very precious, but for Shi Yan the memories that it obtained from God realm warriors and the knowledge about martial arts were rarer. If the ice-cold flame was really willing to bequeath the memories from the God realm warriors and the knowledge of martial arts to him, then wouldn't his acquisition be similar to the reincarnation martial spirit from the Xiao family? The reason why the reincarnation martial spirit from Xiao family was so mighty was because they can get the memories from their past and also the knowledge about martial arts, allowing them to not only take detour during cultivation, but also can reduce or even completely avoid the bottleneck during cultivation. This was indeed a horrid talent. If he can obtain the insight of martial arts from the God realm warriors through the ice-cold flame, then Shi Yan's cultivation will skyrocket. In order to merge with the ice-cold flame, he needs to gather 9 extremely hot yang-powered treasures and materials, and also step into a higher realm. For Shi Yan, these conditions were still in an unforeseeable future, and he doesn't know when he can attain them. However, once the deal between him and the ice-cold flame was done, he will immediately get benefits from the ice-cold flame, and also a chance to merge with the core fire that was transforming into the sky fire. After weighing the pros and cons for a while, Shi Yan felt that this deal was beneficial. I promise you. After being idle for a long time, Shi Yan finally agreed the agreement to the ice-cold flame within the blood vein ring. Good. The ice-cold flame was more excited than him, and immediately replied, You will not be disappointed, believe me. With my knowledge, your cultivation will be faster than the others. With my help, your insight toward the martial arts may even become deeper than the current God realm warriors. What do I do now? I mean, how can I merge with the core fire? At this moment, the core fire is in the process of becoming a sky fire. The current core fire is very pure, just like a newborn baby. At this time, as long as you constantly communicate with it and send a friendly thought, it will deeply remember you and treat you as a loved one. Shi Yan was stunned. You are lucky. Ice-cold flame continued. After it's a life form, you can only merge with it by force. This would require your power to completely suppress it. Make it fear you and never dare to revolt against you. With that, you can merge with it, enslave it, and then make it become a part of your strength and control it as you want. This kind of merge is very dictatorial. Even if you had merged with it, once you are seriously injured and can't control it anymore, it will immediately counterchange and try to detach from you or maybe kill you. This method has its advantages and disadvantages. Currently, you don't have the required power, so don't even think about it. Before its consciousness is formed, use my method and keep sending a friendly thought to it and treat it as your closest friend. Thus, before its consciousness is formed, you can leave your imprint in its soul. After its consciousness is formed, the imprint that you left in its soul will never disappear. It will you treat as a loved one, and later, you can obtain its power and help you to fight with your enemy, even when you are seriously injured. It even has the power to detach from you. It won't do it, but instead will help you. Of course, this method also has a weakness. Because you are in the same relationship, it's difficult for you to sacrifice it in order to live when you are in danger. When it meets with its natural enemies, it also won't listen to you, and probably will hide and not dare to battle. This means that you can't control it as you want or sacrifice it. I just released my spirit power to search it, but it was aware and immediately counterattacked. I can't get close to it at all. That was because there is my presence in your spirit power just now. My element is the opposite from it, so it instinctively loathed me. Next time when you use your spirit power, don't add my presence to it. End out a friendly thought. Slowly close in, taking care not to scare it, and gradually it will accept you. I see. Shi Yan was stunned and immediately said, I will try it. Okay. Remember, don't get close to it too fast. At this moment, it is very cautious and very defensive. You need to take it easy and not be too hasty. Let it recognize you first so that it will not be wary of you. Also, keep sending friendly thoughts. And after it has felt that you really don't want to hurt it, it will lift its guard against you. Shi Yan was secretly surprised. The method to merge with core fire from ice-cold flame. In fact, it was the same as to tame a ferocious cub. You need to step by step make it accept you a bit by bit, and gradually let it adapt to you. After that, it will put down its guard and will take the initiative to close you and will treat you as the closest friend. After communicating with ice-cold flame, Shi Yan felt benefit greatly. This guy don't know have lived many years, obtained the life experience from the God Realm warriors, and has a profound understanding toward oddity of heaven and earth. Shi Yan held his breath, and once again, trying to dissipate the spirit power and quietly approach that area. This time, there wasn't any presence of ice-cold flame in his spirit power. In his mind, there was only friendly thought, and there was no trace of evil thoughts in his heart. Gradually, Shi Yan's spirit power approached that intense and dire fire field. The intense flame, as if a group of dazzling sun, continued to release an amazing fire energies. Among those fire energies, there was a very weak consciousness. Shi Yan, carefully closing his spirit power which full of friendly thought, inch by inch toward that fire field as directed by ice-cold flame. At the moment when his spirit power and that fire energy in contact, the weak consciousness in that fire energy suddenly became alert, seemingly ready to attack Shi Yan's consciousness. Shi Yan was a little shocked and became more cautious. Don't dare to too hasty. Shi Yan maintained his spirit power in the early contact state and didn't go through again, but he keeps send out the friendly thought from his mind. The simple consciousness in that fire energy seems to be confused and didn't immediate attack, but became stronger bit by bit and seems to become a thread that was hard to see with naked eyes, covered the Shi Yan's spirit power, and slowly felt out the friendly thoughts from Shi Yan. The core fire awareness and the instinctive guard were more than what Shi Yan had thought. Although that spirit halo that covered Shi Yan's spirit power didn't immediately attack, but it was ready to attack at any time. Shi Yan was a bit nervous, fearing that core fire suddenly attack. He didn't dare to act frivolous and only keep sending friendly thoughts. Come back first. Try again after a while. Try to give it some space to think. With that, the next time your spirit power enter it, it will not be so tense again. At this moment, its consciousness isn't complete, so giving the ability to think to it also helped to fasten formed his life form. Ice-cold flame contacted. Shi Yan slowly withdraw his spirit power, and him clearly felt the core fire consciousness, that when he withdraw his spirit power, it seems hesitated to attack or not. Shi Yan was very nervous and slowed down his withdrawal process as if pulling a thread inch by inch. He understood that the fire energy from core fire was enough to burn clean his spirit power, and it can even directly kill his soul through the link of his soul and spirit power. If the core fire really does so, then his soul probably will be seriously injured or maybe completely burned. This was extremely dangerous. Sure, Yin concentrated and didn't dare to relax a bit, but also didn't dare to too nervous, afraid that the withdrawing process will be too quick and make core fire misunderstood and launched an attack. Just like passing a thread through needle's eye, it must be extremely accurate, and if it is careless, then it's possible to fail. If he failed, then the price that he needs to pay may be his life. Time passed quietly. Shi Yan felt afraid that even after a century passed, the spirit power that he had released into the core fire mood not be pulled back completely. In this process, the core fire awareness didn't relax for a bit. Just until he withdrew all of his spirit power, the core fire stopped its pursuit. Fayu! In the weird soft ice that the ice-cold flame constructed, Shi Yan sighed. His spirit power was too fatigued and said, "It was so dangerous. This was more difficult than fighting a warrior that is high one level from me." "Not bad. The first step has already met the expected result. Next time your spirit power enter, it will not be so tense again. And when you withdraw your spirit power, just follow this rhythm, and you will be okay." The ice-cold flame assured him. All right. At the next period, Shi Yan followed the ice-cold flame's guidance, separated, releasing his friendly thought and gentle spirit power, and slowly approaching the core fire spirit halo. At the second time, it was really easier than the first time, after the core fire felt Shi Yan's spirit power approach again, although it was still quite cautious, but it seemed to really relax a bit. And when Shi Yan withdrew his spirit power, the core fire wasn't pursuing so hard anymore, ready to attack him anytime. At the third time, the core fire was even more relaxed. When Shi Yan's spirit power approached core fire, the core fire completely put down its awareness and didn't even plan to fight back. Shi Yan was secretly surprised and kept using this method, releasing his friendly thoughts toward core fire. After for a long time, Shi Yan also didn't know how much time has passed. At that time, when Shi Yan withdrew his spirit power from core fire, he felt for the first time that the core fire was a bit unwilling to be separate from him. It was unwilling. This feeling was so clear, like Shi Yan was seeing a child who showed a sad feeling when his friend left. Good. It has already approved you. As long as you continue again, it won't be too long before we can get closer to it. Dash. Translated by Wai. Chapter 185. The Gift from Ice-Cold Flame. Chapter 185. The Gift from Ice-Cold Flame. Inside the volcano, Shi Yan repeatedly kept sending his friendly thoughts and spirit power to the core fire. Gradually, he also started to treat the core fire as his friend. The ice-cold flame, using his knowledge, taught Shi Yan step by step. Its method was really advantageous. By using its method, Shi Yan was gradually getting the approval from core fire and made the core fire lift its guard against him. One day, when Shi Yan's spirit power entered the spirit halo where the core fire resided, he immediately sensed hilarity from core fire. The weak consciousness from core fire wrapped and pulled Shi Yan's spirit power, then rolled into the midst of the fire like a naughty child. The core fire has already treated Shi Yan as its friend. A life that hasn't formed its life form was really pure. After Shi Yan keeps sending his friendly thoughts, the core fire gradually began to entrust him. And when his spirit power entered, it immediately revealed and elated emotions like pulling and playing with Shi Yan's spirit power. Each time when Shi Yan wanted to pull back his spirit power, the core fire appeared unwilling. On several occasions, it even wrapped Shi Yan's spirit power and don't let his spirit power leave. This really made Shi Yan happy. Even in his heart, there developed a loving affection He felt like the core fire was his child, so attached to him and innocent. In his heart, he already no longer had any bad intention towards the core fire. After being together for some time, he has started liking this little guy. In the several times when Shi Yin discussed with Ice-Cold Flame, he often repeatedly asked if this method will harm the core fire. The Ice-Cold Flame was also aware of the slight change in Shi Yin. After getting along with the core for some time, he knew that Shi Yin already loves the core fire. The Ice-Cold made it clear that as long as he does not use the dictatorial method, his approach towards the core fire wasn't harmless, but it will also quicken the forming of core fire's life. This will only benefit the core file and not harm it. With the Ice-Cold Flame's guarantee, Shi Yin finally calmed down and treated his approachment toward the core fire as a hobby. He found that with the contact of his spirit power, the emotions from the core fire seemed to become more and more like a person: joy, unwillingness, and a slight sadness. Shi Yin felt that the core fire life was slowly changing. Another day, when his spirit power tried to leave from the core fire's spirit halo, the core fire, using his fire power, tightly wrapped Shi Yin's spirit power and don't let Shi Yin leave. Just like a child who is pestering his parents and don't want to leave the embrace of their parents. Shi Yin resigned and only can temporarily slow down the withdrawal process of his spirit power to let this little guy hold his spirit power, playing and rolling in the midst of the fire. It only released his bound towards Shi Yin when it became tired. Only at this time Shi Yin can get out. You can go in now, the Ice-Cold Flame relayed again. I believe that even your body can go near it, now it won't attack you. Its devotion to you already far surpassed its fear to me. Even if there is my presence in your body, it will still treat you as a family. After waiting for so long, this moment finally came, but Shi Yin hesitated a bit and said, "We are going to use its power to train the soul gathering pearl. It will not affect it, right?" "No," the Ice-Cold Flame replied with a strange emotion. "You have really treated it as loved one and began to care for him. This is good. It can feel your care towards it. The life form like us are very sensitive. We can directly sense from your soul that you are earnest or not. By treating it like this, it can feel it. Our operation until now is already a success." Shi Yin was stunned. Success. As long as it doesn't resist you and treat you as a family, the next thing will be only a matter of course, the cold ice flame replied. But if you want it to follow you, you need to do something more. You must use its fire energy to refine your body, so that in your body there will be a fire energy of him. We don't need to do too much. As long as there is a presence of it, that is enough. How to do it? Using the fire energy to refine your body also had a big opportunity for you. I had said that I will use my knowledge to help you. Now I will tell you a method of refining the body that will also remove the impurities in your body and will make your body more powerful. In fact, the warriors of past were very accentuated with their body. The training for body was as important as cultivating the profound qi. Their body was very tough, and just with their body strength alone, without using the profound qi, they can make the earth tremble. The toughness of their body can bring out their power to the greatest extent, and nowadays, you guys are only focused on your soul and profound qi and don't train your body, which is actually a great disadvantage. The Ice-Cold Flame slowly explained in detail about the fundamentals of the body, profound qi, and soul for a warrior. According to Ice-Cold Flame, the warrior in the past were very concerned about the body, profound qi, and soul, and for some warriors which had unique martial souls, their body toughness even surpassed their soul and profound qi cultivation. This kind of warrior will use various methods to hone their body. Just with the body strength alone, it's already really powerful. They use the method of refining divine weapon to temper their body, so that their body contain a great power and even have all sorts of oracle. The warrior with the powerful body has a more powerful spirit power than the same level warriors, and also their use of profound qi and soul was also more powerful than the same level warriors. During the battle, the warrior with the powerful body has more advantage and almost always win against the warriors that didn't focus on refining their body. Sure, Yen easily agreed with the ice-cold flame, the twin martial spirit in his body. The petrification martial spirit and immortal martial spirit were also related to the body. If he really refines his body and gave priority to body refining, then his acquisition will be much further than the ordinary warriors. However, he rarely heard any method of refining. Most martial skill only focused on the use of profound qi. There are very few martial skills that focused on the body. The finger gun from Shi family barely can be regarded as a martial skill that refines the body, but the finger gun limitation was too big, which can only be used on the finger. This martial skill can't be considered as a martial skill that refines the body because it can only train the fingers. But the ice-cold flame has lived for a very long time and also has the knowledge from many God Realm warriors. The method of body refining was precisely the thing Shi Yen needed the most right now. If Shi Yen didn't have a deal with the ice-cold flame won't be so straightforward and teach him the method of refining the body. Even in the difficult situation, it will certainly not tell him. But now, the ice-cold flame wasn't only explaining the importance of body refining and the relation between body, soul, and profound qi, but it on its own initiative was willing to teach him the method to refine the body. Sure, Yen really felt it was the right thing that he agreed with the ice-cold flame. Let's go down first. After the ice-cold flame finished explaining, it urged Shi Yen to go into the bottom of the lava. Now you can be rest assured the core fire won't attack you. After you go near to the fire crystal in which the core fire resides, you just need to take out the soul-gathering pearl and put it on the fire crystal. You don't need to do anything. The fire energy from the fire crystal will itself refine the soul-gathering pearl. All right, I know it. Shi Yen nodded and finally no longer continued to stay on there and dived towards the bottom. After a while, a group of dazzling, colorful light suddenly greeted him. In the crimson red lava, there was a fist-sized fire crystal jade that released light and heat, like a summer sun in the noon, overflowing with red light and strong heat. This plate-sized fire crystal jade was very beautiful and embraced by ambolite. Among them, there was fist-sized crimson flame that was swaying in the center of that jade crystal, sending out hot and intense fire rings. The red flame that as big as a fist was very strange, and it was constantly changing, a flower for a while, red fruit for a while, a face for a while, and didn't have a fixed form. This flame was indeed not dead. It seems to have been constantly changing, and its vitality was very vigorous, like an ever-changing small sun, releasing a dreadful light through the crystal. Shi Yen, who was far away from that crystal within the condensed ice from ice-cold flame, also felt the heat wave. This heat seemed to be able to penetrate the ice that covered his body and directly penetrate his soul, which made him uncomfortable. That is the core fire. Shi Yen stared at it and was secretly surprised. Yes, that is the core fire, the ice-cold flame replied. You don't need to worry with my ice that is covering your body, although it can't fully offset the infiltration from the flame, but it can reduce half of it. This is only just the beginning. After you put the soul-gathering pearl on the crystal, I will gradually reduce the protection toward that flame, and you will feel more fire energy float into you. You need to spread that fire energy throughout your whole body, flesh, meridians, bones, and cells, just like refining a divine weapon. Use the fire energy to refine your body. The cultivation for flesh was harder than the profound qi and soul. During the cultivation, the pain was so intense that many people can't endure it, and that's why nowadays warriors gradually abandon body cultivation. Rest assured, my endurance is much stronger than ordinary people, the pain that can't be endured by others. For me, that's not a problem, Shi Yen confidently said. Before he arrived in this world, he was an extreme madman that loved to challenge his limits, and that's why his endurance toward pain was much stronger than ordinary people. After arriving here, he used his advantage on the cultivation road to its fullest. The training for finger guns, the training for rampage. Every kind of martial skills must begin with the courage to be cruel to oneself. With this fundamental, he was fearless. Hopefully so, if really so, then our speed will be much faster and you'll get greater advantages. Perhaps, after this refining, the martial souls inside your body will also evolve. Translated by Wai. Chapter 186. Extreme Refining. Chapter 186. Extreme Refining. Yen was gradually closing in to the floating crystal. The heat from the fire energy was flowing out from the crystal. Even with the help of ice, Yen bodies felt like it was being roasted in the midst of the fire. The ice that has been formed by the ice-cold flame can't even resist the heat from the 10,000-year core fire, and that intense flame power directly penetrated in. Yen carefully took out the soul-gathering pearl. 10 meters above the crystal, he calmed his mind and concentrated his spirit power. After that, he sent his energy to the soul-gathering pearl and suddenly released it. The soul-gathering pearl immediately went down. Chi. The white membrane that covered the soul-gathering pearl suddenly burned up, and only for a moment, that membrane completely disappeared. At the same time, a huge force of soul power suddenly bursted out from the soul-gathering pearl. Yan's soul was rattled, and he suddenly felt an out-of-body illusion. He hurriedly focused his mind and held his breath, and didn't dare to release even a bit of spirit power. In the soul-gathering pearl that has lost its membrane, there were some souls that were dancing and slowly crawling densely inside the pearl like entangled 10,000 black silks. It really made people's scalp go numb. Dang! The soul-gathering pearl fell on the fire crystal jade. Slip! A black mist that can be seen by eyes suddenly came out from the soul-gathering pearl and spread out in the lava before it gradually disappeared. That huge soul energy that bursted out from the soul-gathering pearl also disappeared without a trace. The soul-gathering pearl fell on the fire crystal jade and seemed to be stuck on the crystal. The fire dispersed from the fire crystal as it embraced the soul-gathering pearl while burning it. The 10,000-year core fire behaved abnormally inside the fire crystal, changing into various forms while releasing an amazing amount of heat. The core fire seemed to know that something has fallen on the fire crystal. Its nature was quick-tempered, so it immediately sent its fire energy and tried to burn the soul-gathering pearl into ashes. Under the 10,000 core fire combustion, the impurities inside the dark, bright soul-gathering pearl were quickly refined and transformed into black smokes, which was immediately engulfed and quickly fused into the lava. With the heat coming, Yen also felt slightly uncomfortable, and even on his body appeared some traces of sweat. The usage of profound qi was needed to float above the fire crystal jade. After Yen stopped for a while, he found that the soul-gathering pearl has been completely covered by the flame, and only after consulting with the ice-cold flame and hearing that it was okay, did he finally calm down. Yen quietly went away from the crystal and settled on a red rock 30 meters away. Not far from there, the soul-gathering pearl was covered by the 10,000-year core fire, and the dregs among it was refined and dissolved in the lava. Yen was slightly relieved after looking at the dark, bright soul-gathering pearl becoming more and more translucent. In his heart, there was an unspeakably delighted emotion. The soul-gathering pearl won't change anymore. The flame power from the 1,000 years core fire was enough to refine it and form a pure soul power. Now you can rest assured with the things related to the soul-gathering pearl. It is the time for you to be careful. The ice-cold flame relayed. Yen was stunned, and with a slightly doubt he asked, "What should I be careful with?" "You think." In the next moment, the intense fire energy rapidly flew into Yen, who was in the ice, and suddenly his body was dyed in red. The fire energy penetrated through the ice and directly went in. Yen, who was sealed in the ice, found that he has been surrounded by the fire energy, and his body was being refined in the fire. His every cell seemed to be inflamed. An unbearable pain spread it out in his body like a tide, and Shiryen, who was being burnt, immediately issued a huge roar. This is just the beginning. The ice-cold flame reply suddenly became a little cold-blooded. I promised you that I will help you so that you can use the 10,000-year core fire to refine your body, and now it has already began. This is too sudden. Shiryen screamed. His body was covered with sweat, and the sweat that flowed out from his body quickly froze and covered his skin under the power from the ice-cold flame. However, the ice doesn't seem to be able to block the fire energy, as Shiryen didn't feel cold at all, and his body still continued to sweat. It has started. The ice-cold flame seemed to be gloating and said, "Didn't you say that your endurance toward pain is much stronger than ordinary people? Hee. So from the beginning, I hadn't treated you like ordinary people, and I don't want you to adapt to it a bit by bit, but immediately feel despair." Shiryen secretly regretted taking help from the ice-cold flame, but he was helpless and could only scream. In that case, now you can tell me the method of refining the body, right? This method of refining was from a warrior in the third sky of the spirit realm, which was called extreme refining. It will push you through limit one after another. You must remember this. Always maintain your consciousness, and never be unconscious. Once you are unconscious, then you will never be able to wake up again. You need to have a little sense of proportion. Relax, I have my proportion. But if you disappoint me and faint during the process, then even I can't save you. All right then, tell me how to do the extreme refining. You must listen carefully. This kind of refining is the same as refining divine weapon, by using the flame to remove the impurities from the body. Then guide the fire energy into your meridians. I will tell you which path you should take, and you then spread the fire energy in your body through the meridian's path, and fuse your mind with the fire energy and burn the bones, meridians, flesh, organs, even every cell again and again. Shiryen startled. Your body is different from the others. It doesn't have many impurities. I don't know how you did it, but now you only need to follow my guidance and guide the fire energy into your body through the special meridian's path. You can do it step by step. Remember, no matter what, you must remain consciousness and never be unconsciousness. My body is different from the others. Yes, when you were cultivating in the Menlo Island, your body even absorbed the cold energy that I spread out. I immediately found that your body seems to have been refined and didn't contain any impurities, so I thought to use this chance by infusing my energy into your body to make your body adapt to my energy, so that I can plunder it. Shiryen was stunned for a while and suddenly remembered the reason. The blood pool. When he arrived in this world for the first time, he found that he was in a cave. The blood pool inside the cave contained a very evil energy. He rushed into the blood pool without hesitation, and his body sucked all of the blood in that blood pool. After he regained his consciousness, he was in a blood cocoon. After that, he had a feeling of being reborn again, and there was profound chi in his body. The blood from the blood pool didn't only give him a mysterious martial spirit, but also refined his body and cleared the impurities inside his body, which made the profound chi flow more smoothly. Everything that he got until today was inseparable from that mysterious martial spirit, and that mysterious martial spirit was formed because of that blood pool. You can still daze? Looks like the fire energy in your body can still be increased. The ice-cold flame once again relayed a cold-blooded message, and immediately allowed more fire energy to pass through, and suddenly more and more fire energy directly penetrated Shiryen's body. Shiryen's body immediately turned into crimson red like a soldering iron, and he felt like he was being grilled. He immediately roared out with a hoarse voice and looked grim. This pain was more intense than when he was cultivating the second sky of rampage and fused the negative energy into his blood. No ordinary people can endure this kind of pain. If replaced with the others, maybe they would have already fainted. But sure, Yen just screamed as his eyes turned into red, and you can still see some resolution in his eyes. You really weren't bluffing. In this kind of heat, most people's mind will collapse or they will even go crazy, and some people will immediately faint and forever lose the chance to advance. But you are really good, truly a monster. With your current cultivation and realm, you still can withstand this power. You really are the most suitable person to cultivate the extreme refining. Shi Yen roared and didn't answer. I had more than one body refining skills. But this extreme refining was the evilest and dangerous at the beginning. I just wanted to test whether you can endure it or not. If you can endure it, I would have given you another one, but now there's no need to it. Congratulations, as long as you can endure during this extreme refining. The effect will be obvious, and this is the fastest refining method. As long as you can keep consciousness, I am sure you will quickly have a solid foundation. Shi Yen can hear the message from the ice-cold flame, but he can't respond, because the ice-cold flame again lifted the block towards the fire energy and let more fire energy to pass through. Shi Yen howled like a fierce beast. His roars were full with the pain of an immortal human. Even flames were wavering from his nostrils, eyes, mouth like a fire serpent. Shi Yen seemed like he was burned from inside. Covered in red, he can even see a plume of the small flame swimming in his body. Enough! Now listen carefully. I will tell you which path you should take. As the ice-cold flame explained the things related to the extreme, refining with detail to Shi Yen, it also quietly watched the changes happening in Shi Yan's mind. Although the fire was still scattering on Shi Yan's body and he looked ferocious, but his soul was unusually active. The ice-cold flame was secretly scared, even if it never practiced the extreme refining. But it knew the horrors of this extreme refining method from that person's memory. Because this extreme refining wasn't originally the refining skill for a human warrior. The one who invented this extreme refining was an evil blacksmith. This extreme refining was originally one of his refining divine weapon method with using fire. After inventing this extreme refining, so far only that blacksmith who had been used it to refine his body had once used it. He cultivated the extreme refining using the fire martial spirit in his body, not using the earth fire. The earth fire was more ferocious than mortal fire, although the ice-cold flame lowered the fire energy from the earth fire, but it was still an earth fire. Even the ice-cold flame had difficulty in control the violent element from the earth fire, although told him about the extreme refining. It didn't want Shi Yen to cultivate it. Instead, it had already chose another refining method for Shi Yen. But Shi Yen managed to endure it. It could not help but be surprised by it. Chapter 187, Refinement. Chapter 187, Refinement. Shi Yen didn't know what was special about refinement. From inside the blood vein ring, the ice-cold flame kept sending messages to instruct Shi Yen on how to refine. According to the ice-cold flame's instruction, Shi Yen triggered TH power of the earth core fire and pushed it into his veins. Some minor veins seemed to burn after the fire power came in, and the pain was intolerable. If his body had not been refined once by the cold power of the ice-cold flame on the Monroe Island, he could have been burnt by the earth core fire. The cold power of the ice-cold flame had filled his limbs and entails, so when the earth core fire flew in his body, his temperature didn't surge rapidly. And that's why Shi Yan's flesh and veins were not melted, though he was enduring incredible pain, which the ice-cold flame had foreseen. It dared let Shi Yen refine with the earth core fire, as it knew Shi Yan's body was extraordinary with the cold power, which could help him cool down when burnt with fire. The ice-cold flame knew the cold power was enough to prevent Shi Yan's veins and blood from melting, but it couldn't soften his pain. He had to go through the pain of burning, and the cold power would strengthen the pain. Inside the hard ice, little flames came out from Shi Yan's body, and he looked as red as if he was burning in fire. Dehydration made Shi Yan's body skinny as he operated Rampage. As the fire was burning in his body, Yan kept bellowing as his eyes turned red and his face hideous. The ice-cold flame kept silent and felt the changes in Yan's body as his body was forming natural power of defense. Yan's body had turned dark brown. The moment the flame permeated his body, his petrification martial spirit was triggered. However, as the flame burnt greatly, his dark brown skin turned red. The ice-cold flame noticed the changes in Yan's body. As the fire got stronger and stronger, Yan's petrification martial spirit started operating to weaken the pain on his body. Meanwhile, the immortal martial spirit in Yan's body seemed to be awakened as well. The ice-cold flame also gradually settled down. It was not careful when it handed the refinement to Yan because it thought Yan would give up soon after he found he couldn't bear it. It was out of its expectation that Yan preserved more than others, for he could keep sober even under the torturing of the earth core fire. The two martial spirits took effect gradually, so the ice-cold flame came to know that as long as Yan could endure the burning of the fire, the two martial spirits would be triggered and increase his ability. As his body was refined and his martial spirits enhanced, Yan's ability surged greatly. Since they made a deal, the ice-cold flame knew that Yan's would keep up his word, and it became friendly with Yan. Now it was sealed in Yan's blood vein ring, so it can't conduct its power. Before it got out of the blood vein ring, it hoped that Yan would be fine. Once Yan got into accident, it couldn't get out of the blood vein ring anymore. Even if the blood vein ring had a new master, he may not spare it. Therefore, to increase Yan's ability as possible as it could was the best choice for it. And it did so. Yan felt like a century had passed. There was no earth core fire outside, and the fire inside Yan's body was consumed up. After the torment, this short, quiet time was very precious to Yan. What's up? His spirit went into the blood vein ring to ask the ice-cold flame, "Take a rest. You should communicate with the earth core fire and connect your perception with it. Before the earth core fire formed its life, you have to leave your mark in it to let it remember you." Good. Soon, Yan finished communicating with the ice-cold flame. Then he concentrated to approach the flame, crystal jade. Once his perception touched the flame, crystal jade, the earth core fire inside the jade became like a smiling face. The earth core fire was changing inside the flame, crystal jade, and now it became a smiling face, appeared very happy. Yan's spirit felt its delightment. This time the earth core fire was attached to Yan so much as it wrapped Yan's spirit and played happily with it. Yan had no choice but to stay. Until Yan's spirit got tired and the earth core fire has exhausted itself, Yan's spirit took the chance to leave. It's too tiresome this time. Have you noticed that it loves you more? And it regards you as family. Do you notice it? From inside the blood vein ring came the ice-cold flame's voice. Yeah, I do. Good. The ice-cold flame seemed to know this would happen. Your body is refined by the earth core fire for a while, so your body and your spirit power had obtained a touch of the earth core fire. Naturally, it loves that smell and treat you as family. Yan was stunned. I ask you to refine with the fire to gain its trust. Only when it was in your body and got familiar with you will it take you as a friend. The ice-cold flame said, slowly, therefore, you have to be more devoted. Refinement could strengthen your body and enhance your martial spirits, and you can make friends with the earth core fire. Yeah, I know what to do. Good. I will add more earth core fire. Yan nodded firmly. Let's begin. The next moment, overwhelming fire power came from all directions. This time, the fire power was extremely ferocious and wrapped Yan in an instant. The intense fire became another armor on the surface of his body, separating him from the hard ice. Let's start. The ice-cold flame sent the message. Shurian closed his eyes and pushed the earth core fire into his veins. There were no sun and stars in the magma pond, so there was no concept of time there. At the bottom of the pond, Shurian was training with refinement hard, and every time he took some rest, he would let his spirit communicate with the earth core fire. Day and night. Refinement tempered one's body, and the exchange of spirit power and earth core fire consumed a lot of spirit power. Sure, Yen brutally used all his energy to train his body and spirit. On the other day, he was operating the refinement again. This time, when the earth core fire flew inside his veins, his spirit found something special. The spirit power was exploring in his blood and flesh. Suddenly, his blood and flesh was exaggerated greatly, and he could see every cell and the fabric of his flesh. He could feel the minimum things inside his body. One piece of flesh was expanded greatly. Shurian could see the cells, fabrics, and milky water drops. Milky water drops. They were even smaller than cells, giving out special smell. Shurian's spirit went down into the milky drops and carefully felt them. It's the power from the mysterious martial spirit. Every time when the meridians absorbed much profound qi, there would be this strange power from his meridians. This energy could trigger and enhance the martial spirit and strengthen the profound qi. Those milky water were just the strange power from the meridians. They were separated in his cells and fabrics in the form of milky water drops. What's that? From the blood vein ring came the thought of the ice-cold flame. There was magical power inside those milky water drops, and the power seems beneficial to your body. You just try to melt it and fill it in your cells. Chapter 188. Evolution of Twin Martial Spirits. Chapter 188. Evolution of the Twin Martial Spirits. Shurian, of course, knew where these milky water drops came from, and also the magical effects from these water drops. His spirit went into his flesh and carefully looked at those milky water drops. Shurian quickly pondered in his brain. This strange power can gather and enhance martial souls, can vigorous the profound qi, and there were many other magical uses from it. He had always known that this power had been a great benefit on him. But looks like this magical power still not all been refined and fully integrated into his body. After receiving the message from Ice-Cold Flame, Shurian didn't hesitate too much. With just a little thought, he immediately decided to try to fuse them into cells and body so that they can really become nutrients for the flesh. Inside the body, the intense fire energy started flowing in his meridians and scattered into his whole body. Under the refinement from the body, the flesh was tempered so that the flesh became more powerful and could be more adapted to gather power and profound qi rampage. After operating the refinement until now, Shurian already has his own insights toward refining the body with fire. He knew that this refinement was very strange. After his body has been refined by the core fire, his body began to change. These milky water drops aren't the water from your body and can't be evaporated by the fire. You just need to use the fire energy to melt these milky water drops, and they will overflow in your cells, fiber, and flesh. In fact, it isn't difficult. What you need to do is just infuse a small fire point into the milky water drops. The ice-cold flame sensed Shurian has begun and explained in a detailed way. Shurian immediately comprehended. After the fire energy has been magnified several times, it became a tiny fire point, those fire point with a core for the fire energy, and scattered in the Shurian body. As long as he used the mind to control these fire point and infuse it into the milky water drops, then the water drops will be dissolved and scattered in the flesh and cells. Shurian began to try. As he focused on one point, his mind began to expand like a magnifying glass. finding the meridians which filled with the fire energy, controlling it and then fusing it into the flesh of the chest. After he magnified unlimited amount of times, the fire gradually changed, and it became a firelight that was formed of numerous fire points. Shi Yin concentrated his spirit power, and his spirit power instantly divided into numerous small power which were injected into those fire points and tried to control those fire points. So they moved toward the area of that milky water drops. It was very smooth. The tens of thousands of fire points inside his flesh began to coincide with those milky water drops. An extremely wonderful feeling suddenly formed in the heart. Sure, Yen was clearly aware that in his chest there was a warm current. That warm current was like some kind of nutrients which was being spread in his flesh. With joy in his heart, Shi Yin endured the pain in his flesh and began to change the whole body. Time passed quickly. Inside the lava, Shi Yin was cultivating the extreme refining and changing the mysterious power inside his body into milky water drops, injecting the fire energy as his body slowly changed. Don't know how long it has been, and how many times refining. One day, Shi Yin woke up again and his eyes shone brightly, like stars in the night sky. The ice-cold flame was very cooperative. It immediately spread out the fire energy and stopped the fire energy. How? The ice-cold flame asked. Shi Yin smiled. With a single thought, his skin suddenly turned yellow-green color. The third stage of petrification, martial spirit. Holding the dragon slaying sword, he gently scratched on his arm and a scar appeared. When the scar appeared, his flesh seemed to suddenly become alive, while slowly crawling with speed that can be seen by eyes, quickly began to restore the scar. When the wound appeared, the healing has already started too. The wounded body from the battle already can recover in middle of the battle. This was the third stage of the immortal martial spirit. The twin martial spirits both evolved. Impressive. The ice-cold flame was surprised too. Looks like this extreme refining is indeed very suitable for you after this period of hard cultivating. Your body has already been tempered numerous times. Not only can it withstand with the fire energy, but even both your martial spirits evolved too. Good, this is really good. Sure, Yen, look happy. I am now more and more feel that it was a correct decision for me to agree with your term. Of course, I had said that you definitely won't regret it. The ice-cold flame said proudly, look at the soul-gathering pearl. Now the pearl has also been refined and already has a spirit power. The pearl can't be put on the fire crystal anymore, or the spirit power will be damaged by the core fire. Now it is the time for us to leave here. Shi Yin startled and looked at the soul-gathering pearl. Don't know since when the soul-gathering pearl transformed into dark blue color. The pearl was smooth and translucent and seems like there was a strange essence flowing in it. There was no more strange black smoke rising from the soul-gathering pearl. And the soul-gathering pearl that fell on the fire crystal already no longer had the ability to absorb the soul. After being burnt for some time, the soul-gathering pearl has already been refined into pure spirit power. From now on, this soul-gathering pearl is no longer a magical treasure, but just a container. After leaving here, it will still need some time, so that the spirit power in it can be precipitated before it can be absorbed. What about the core fire? The life form from core fire hasn't yet completely formed, but it should imminent. After this stage, the fire energy from the 10,000-year-old volcano has already gathered in its body. Now its life form forming isn't related to the 10,000-year-old volcano. What it needs right now is just time, so you can take it with you. Take it with me? Shi Yin pondered for a moment. He took out the purified bottle, holding in his palm, said, This thing, in the first time, I wanted to use this to contain it. Look, can this thing contain the core fire? The ice-cold flame didn't immediately answer, but quietly observed the bottle. After a while, the ice-cold flame relayed, No, if the core fire didn't evolve, it can be contained, but now it already can't. This bottle is sealed and the air can't flow out. The material in this bottle will also limit its ability and will be detrimental toward its evolution. So it can't be used. Shi Yan was stunned. The purified bottle was really used to store the core fire, but now the core fire was in a special form, which is in the stage of evolution to become sky fire and forming a complete life form. In this stage, the confinement from the purified bottle will interfere with the core fire evolution, and its evolution may occur a misfortune. If can't contain it, then it's difficult to take it with me. Shi Yan hesitated for a moment and asked, "Is there no other way?" "Not really." The ice-cold flame hesitated a bit and immediately said, "Did you forget where I am?" Shi Yan's eyes widened. "This ring is very magical. It can contain life soul. If I can enter it, then the core fire should be able to. But I don't know if this ring will limit the core fire or not, which depends on you if you can completely control this ring. And there is one more problem." "What?" "Because I am inside it, that guy maybe not dare to come in it," the ice-cold flame proudly said. "Don't say now. Even if it really formed a complete life form of its own, it will still not be my opponent. I am its natural nemesis. As long as you don't release your presence, and it can't feel it, that should be all right. If it didn't come in yet, I can hide my presence, but after inside the ring, I can't hide it anymore, and once it found me inside it, it would feel that you have deceived it, which this is not what you would like to see." "Not this, not that, then what should I do?" "I won't hide my presence, and you tried to communicate with it. If its affection toward you surpassed the fear of me, it should take the initiative to come in. Only this way will not affect its feeling toward you. Remember, once it felt that you deceived it, it would never take initiative to be friendly with you." "I will try." Shi Yan took a deep breath, concentrated his spirit power, and tried to add some of the fire energy presence inside his body, and quietly got near to the fire crystal where the core fire reside. After feeling Shi Yan's spirit power, the core fire was very pleased and took the initiative to come near, tightly warping Shi Yan's spirit power. Shi Yan wasn't anxious, but accompanied to play with it first, and exchange simple communication with spirit power, until Shi Yan felt that his communication with it was in the most harmonious atmosphere. He wrapped some of core fire consciousness, brought it out from the fire crystal jade, came to where he was, and stretched out the hand with the blood ring, telling the ice-cold flame to release his presence by using his mind. When the ice-cold flame presence flew out from the blood ring, the core fire consciousness was like a frightened bird and immediately fled back to the fire crystal jade, regardless the retainment from Shi Yan's spirit power. Shi Yan couldn't help but sigh, quickly caught up with his spirit power and tried to explain his intention. The core fire was very afraid and became very frightened, and kept changing into a variety of frightened forms inside the fire crystal. No matter how Shi Yan tried to entice it, it won't come out from the fire crystal. Didn't work. After a long time, Shi Yan consciousness returned and communicated with the ice-cold flame helplessly. "No, you almost succeed." Unexpectedly, the ice-cold flame replied an unexpected answer. "What?" Shi Yan was stunned. "I said you almost succeeded." The ice-cold flame replied again, and its mood was quite excited. "This ring, where it came from? How did you get it?" "Just now. Didn't you feel the changes within the ring?" "What changes?" Shi Yan was baffled. "Your ring. After it felt the approach from the core fire, it immediately began to seal my presence. After the core fire left, my presence already had been blocked. And inside the ring, it has opened up a new space. Inside that space, it actually formed a small fire crystal jade." "What?" Shi Yan surprised. "This ring used the fire energy that was flowing in and magically formed a fire crystal jade and sealed my power. It already prepared everything for the arrival of core fire. It knew what you wanted to do and made prepared in advance for you. Your ring, where did it come from?" "I have been inside the ring, but I can't feel the presence from the ring's spirit. This ring is a divine item." Translated by Wai. Chapter 189 Exit. Chapter 189 Exit. In the bottom of the lava pool, Shi Yan's face was filled with shock. The series of thoughts from the ice-cold flame brought the blood vein ring to another astonishing level, and it also made him realize for the first time that the blood vein ring was no ordinary thing. As a sky fire, the ice-cold flame had a shocking sense and insight. It was also inside the blood vein ring. If even the ice-cold flame couldn't sense the ring's spirit inside the blood vein ring, it could be seen as to how mysterious and strange the blood vein ring was. Feeling the approach of the core fire, the blood vein ring sealed all the presence of ice-cold flame's power. It used the fire power that it absorbed in these days and formed into the core fire's favorite fire, crystal jade. Ai made all preparations and reopened a space to be fully prepared for the arrival of the core fire. If someone were to say that there was no ring spirit in the blood vein ring, even Shi Yan wouldn't believe it. This ring is extraordinary. Normal magic space rings can only store items. They can never store living souls. But your ring is completely different. It seems to be unable to store items, but it can store living entities like my own. Even I cannot feel the existence of the ring spirit. This ring spirit is definitely no small matter. Shi Yan could clearly feel that there was more presence or power of the ice-cold flame flowing out of the blood vein ring. The blood vein ring seemed to have completely sealed the ice-cold flame and made the ice-cold flame unable to release its power out, other than still being able to communicate with Shi Yan's soul. The ice-cold flame could no longer do anything else. At the same time, Shi Yan, who was inside the hard ice, suddenly started to feel the fire power around him getting stronger and stronger. I can't keep putting power into the hard ice that is covering your body. That hard ice will hold up for 1 to 2 days at most, then it will completely melt away. You need to immediately call out to the core fire and make it get inside the blood vein ring on its own before the hard ice melts, or else you will need to leave immediately. Although your body already has some fire power, you still can't survive under the lava pool. The ice-cold flame seemed slightly urgent. It hurriedly clarified the newest situation to Shi Yan. Being inside the lava pool, his surroundings were covered by the thickest lava. The reason why he could stay here all along was because the ice-cold flame kept putting its cold energy into the hard ice covering his body, making him safe and sound. Once that layer of hard ice melts, his body would be completely revealed. Sure, Yan did not want to die. When he received the message from the ice-cold flame, he didn't dare to hesitate. Shi Yan immediately spread out his consciousness and slowly approached the fire crystal jade where the 10,000-year-old core fire was at. Once his consciousness touched the fire crystal jade, the 10,000-year-old Saray fire inside immediately became active again. But this time when Shi Yan wanted to make its consciousness leave the fire crystal jade, it did not budge. It was obviously scared by the ice-cold flame's presence a while ago. The core fire won't come out, but the hard ice covering his body was slowly melting. More and more fire power slowly seeped through. Shi Yan began to feel anxious. It won't listen to me. Is there another way? No, other than making it leave the fire crystal jade on its own. There is no other way. How about let us just leave here first? Next time when you get to understand the secrets of the ring, we can come here to collect the core fire again. Decide quickly. If it's too late, it would be very difficult for you to float up to the surface alive. The ice-cold flame also had no methods to use. It just persuaded Shi Yan to leave as soon as possible. Shi Yan's face was full of worry. He was thinking at a great speed, but had no ideas. The blood vein ring has a ring spirit. Even though the ring spirit did not expose itself, it seemed to know his thoughts. Since it did open up a space inside the ring and formed fire crystal jade, then it obviously wanted to let the core fire in. Since that's the case, then won't the blood vein ring have some sort of way? Sure, Yen didn't know, but he decided to take his chances. After hesitating for a moment, he took off the blood vein ring from his finger and suddenly threw it towards the core fire. At the same time, Shi Yan immediately concentrated his thoughts and used his consciousness to communicate with the core fire, persuading the core fire to enter into the blood vein ring. The blood vein ring shot towards the fire crystal jade in the lava, and halfway the blood vein ring suddenly turned into a beam of firelight, with its surface was covered with fire. A flow of strange fire presence overflowed from that blood vein ring. Shi Yan was stunned. His eyes immediately brightened. The blood vein ring seemed to really know his thoughts. The blood vein ring forwardly formed fire power on its own and released a fiery presence. That was exactly what the 10,000-year-old core fire liked. Once the 10,000-year-old core fire could no longer feel the presence of the ice-cold flame inside the blood vein ring, and instead it felt the fire power that it liked the most. With the persuasion of Shi Yan's consciousness, it definitely could be shaken and enter the blood vein ring on its own. A light flashed in his mind. Shi Yan concentrated and communicated with the consciousness of the 10,000-year-old core fire. He kept persuading it to enter the blood vein ring on its own, and spreaded his friendliness and sincerity. The blood vein ring fell on top of the fire crystal jade. Pum! Clusters of flames appeared on both the fire crystal jade and the blood vein ring. In those flames, there seemed to be the presence of the core fire, and it was extremely hot. Inside the fire crystal jade, that cluster of fist-sized, 10,000-year-old core fire was still shifting into different forms. It seemed to have not left the fire crystal jade yet. It only released a small portion of its power to probe around the blood vein ring, wanting to see what exactly was inside of the blood vein ring and if it could enter or not. Shi Yan sensed the carefulness of the core fire. Without urging it with his consciousness, Shi Yan only silently waited, and waited for the core fire's decision. The fire power of the 10,000-year-old core fire quietly creeped into the blood vein ring, and secretly inspected the blood vein ring. It wanted to see if this small little ring was a resting place that it could be satisfied with. The hard ice that covered his body was becoming more and more intolerably hot. There were traces of sweat on Shi Yan's forehead. He felt slightly nervous inside. Time was passing silently. With every second that passed, the hard ice would melt a bit more. If this were to drag on for too long, it would be very difficult for him to leave this lava pool alive. After God knows how long, when Shi Yan's entire body was covered with sweat, the core fire finally started to move. The core fire inside the fire crystal jade rose like fumes and slowly appeared from inside the fire crystal jade. With a trusting attitude towards Shi Yan, the core fire suddenly wrapped around the blood vein ring. The cluster of fist-sized, 10,000-year-old core fire, under Shi Yan's watch, turned smaller bit by bit. Shi Yan could see that wisps of fire slowly flew into the blood vein ring and towards the little piece of fire crystal jade inside the blood vein ring. Shi Yan's face was filled with joy without blinking. He stared at that 10,000-year-old core fire. Very soon, the fist-sized core fire completely disappeared inside the blood vein ring. After the core fire disappeared, the blood vein ring glowed in a flickering bright red aura. The blood vein ring suddenly moved. A circle of red light rippled from it. The blood vein ring flew up from that fire crystal jade on its own. It floated inside the lava pool, moving slowly towards Shi Yan. Shi Yan did not hesitate. He reached his hand to grab out, and caught the blood vein ring with one hand, then put it back on his finger. He sank his consciousness into the blood vein ring. Inside the blood vein ring, there was a strange swirl that wrapped the ice-cold flame, completely sealing the presence and power of the ice-cold flame. In another area, a little fire crystal, jade, quietly stayed inside a fire space made by clusters of flames. Inside the fire crystal jade, a cluster of fire was abnormally active and kept shifting into different forms. The ice-cold flame and the 10,000-year-old core fire were all inside the blood vein ring. They were in two separate spaces and were clearly differentiated. Their individual powers actually didn't conflict with each other, and they did not affect each other. Shi Yan's consciousness sank in, and he immediately felt the life fluctuations of the ice-cold flame and the happy consciousness of the core fire. Both fires were living together inside the blood vein ring. They each emitted their own life presence, but they seemed to be unable to sense each other. It was indeed magical. The ice-cold flame and the core fire, one was of extreme ice elements, and the other was of extreme fire elements. When the two fires were together, once their power interferes with each other, they will both be suppressed by one another. The ice-cold flame was a little all right. After all, it was much stronger. But if this 10,000-year-old core fire, that didn't even completely evolve its living state yet, got suppressed by the ice-cold flame, it would be extremely harmful to its evolution. The blood vein ring split up two different spaces and separated the ice-cold flame and the 10,000-year-old core fire. Although they were both inside the blood vein ring, the power of the two were both limited in a small range. Not only did the power of the two sides not interfere with each other, even their life consciousnesses were separated, and they couldn't sense the existence of each other. It has entered. The ice-cold flame sent a message. Yes, it had entered. Then what are you staring around for? Aren't you going to get out of here quickly? All right, I'm beginning to float upwards. Splash! Sure, Yin poked his head out of the surface of the lava pool. His entire body was red, and there was only a light layer of white mist around his body. In that white mist, there was an ice-cold energy. The cold energy spread it out and countered the heat of the lava, such that Shi Yan's body wouldn't be burnt. When he reached the surface of the lava pool, Shi Yan set his mind at rest. The fire power of the lava here was actually much weaker. It was so weak that Shi Yan felt like even if the power of the ice-cold flame were to be entirely used up, his body would still be able to handle it. Of course, Shi Yan didn't waste any time. He didn't wait for the white mist to completely dissipate to try it out. Instead, he already started to climb up the red rocky walls. The dragon-slaying sword now showed its use. When he stabbed down, the red rocky wall would split open. Shi Yan continuously swung the sword and petrified his body. He used his skin and flesh to touch the red rocky walls, but realized that his palm was only slightly painful. He was not actually hurt by that hot, iron-like red rock wall. His body was refined by the fire power of the 10,000-year-old core fire and had already gotten used to the high temperature. After the petrification spirit reached the third stage, the defensive power of his body also rose to another level, making him fearless against the high temperature in this area. Very soon, with the help of the dragon-slaying sword, Shi Yan slowly climbed up to the crater of the volcano. A round moon appeared high up in a starry night sky. Under the bright moonlight, Shi Yan appeared from the crater, with his body all red. He raised his voice and shouted, "Master Amo, are you here?" Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound of the cyan blood bat breaking through the wind suddenly came. In a short moment, a warrior in the first sky of the Earth realm came while riding a level 6 cyan blood bat. Young Master Yen, in this more than half a year of time, a big change happened in the Kiara Sea. Master Emo already returned to the immortal island ahead of us. He made me stay here and wait for you. That Shura blood guard bowed. Big change. Shi Yan was stunned. He frowned and rose on top of this cyan blood bat. His face was full of confusion. Chapter 190. The Invasion of Demon Dwellers. Chapter 190. The Invasion of Demon Dwellers. 6 months ago, the Demon Dwellers entered the Kiara Sea from 7 space nodes. The Gate of Heaven leading to the 4th demon area has also been invaded by the Demon Dwellers. This time, the Demon Dwellers are very aggressive. After Commander Mo received the call, he returned to the Immortal Island to support. This Shura Blood Guard, which was called Tualuo, explained the recent situation to Shi Yen after he mounted the Cyan Blood Bat. Through his story, Shi Yen knew that he had been inside the volcano for 7 months. During these 7 months, there was a big unforeseen event occurred in Kiara Sea. After the Xia family learned that Xia Xinyan's soul had been damaged, they sent people to Fire Cloud's island and escorted Xia Xinyan back to the Xia family. None of the people in the Xia family believed that Shi Yen can help Xia Xinyan regain back her consciousness. After they knew from He Qing Man that Xia Xinyan's soul was damaged for the sake of saving Shi Yen, they initially planned to condemn Shi Yen. But Mo Duanhuin was guarding at the crater, and Shi Yen still hadn't came out from the volcano, so they can't do anything and only postpone Shi Yan's questioning, while bring back Xia Xinyan from the Fire Cloud's island. 6 months ago, the Demon Dwellers from the 4th demon area forcibly opened an unstable point in space and risked their lives to enter into Kiara Sea. The Demon Dwellers dispersed and aggressively attacked many islands. Space Node was similar to the Gate of Heaven, but was unstable. If you want to enter the Kiara Sea from the Space Node, there must be a Demon Dweller with great power to blast off the Space Node. In the Space Node, there were many space disturbances. This space disturbance was very dangerous for the Demon Dwellers who were wishing to travel through it. Normally, the Demon Dwellers didn't dare to enter the Kiara Sea through the Space Node. But if they did so, then there must be a very important thing behind it. During going through the point in space, the more powerful the Demon Dweller was, the more dangerous it will be for him. The possibility of death for Demon Dwellers in Nirvana Realm during passing the Space Node was very big, and for the Demon Dwellers in the Sky Realm, because their inner strength was too strong, the point in space might be destroyed. Therefore, the realm of Demon Dwellers passing the Space Node was not too high. As the Demon Dwellers passed through the Space Node, the 4th demon area and the Gate of Heaven were also being attacked aggressively by the Demon Dwellers. At the same time, the skilled warriors from Yang family have already gathered in front of the Gate of Heaven and defended the attack from the Demon Dwellers. This time, the Demon Dwellers were very aggressive. The skilled warriors from all family also emerged, and the Yang family have to gather all their forces to defend the Gate of Heaven. In just 2 months' time, at the Gate of Heaven, hundreds of skilled warriors from Yang family have already died, and also thousands of Demon Dwellers. The Gate of Heaven, which was being guarded by the Yang family, became the most intense battlefield in the land. The Xia family and Evil Wonderland were ordered to eliminate Demon Dwellers who came from the Space Node. In this 2 months, the 3 big family in Kiara Sea didn't relax a bit and always engaged with the Demon Dwellers. After receiving message from Evil Wonderland, He Qing Man was ordered to go to the Black Rock Island near the Fire Cloud's island to clean up hundreds of Demon Dwellers which appeared there. At this time, the Fire Cloud's island was also heavily guarded. He Luo and some of the island's leaders were defending from the Demon Dwellers and were ready to engage with them. Shi Yen sat on the Cyan Blood Bat and looked slightly surprised. He hadn't expected that in this 7 months' time, there was already a big change in Kiara Sea. Young Master Yen, a few days ago, I received message from Commander Mo. He said that for the time being, don't return to the Immortal Island. Commander Mo said that if you had come out from the volcano, then he want you to go to Black Rock Island and help the people from the Evil Wonderland to clean up the Demon Dwellers. Commander Mo said that you still haven't seen and battled with Demon Dwellers. So he want you to familiarize with the Demon Dwellers' appearance and combat skill first, to avoid don't know how to deal with them. When meeting them later, don't return to the Immortal Island for the time being. Why? The gate of heaven in Kiara Sea, leading to the fourth demon area, is very close to Immortal Island. If we want to return to the island, then we need to go through that place. Recently, the warriors who gathered at Gate of Heaven are above Nirvana realm, and the demon dwellers which appeared at there also have a very high cultivation. It's too dangerous if we want to pass there. Black Rock Island. He Ching Man is also at Black Rock Island? Yes, half a month ago, she received a message from Evil Wonderland and headed toward Black Rock Island with her Wind Thunder Lion. Black Rock Island isn't too far from here. With this cyan bloodbat, we can arrive in about 3 to 4 days. Tua Luo nodded his head and said, Young Master Yen, you should go to Black Rock Island. The demon dwellers there aren't too strong. Meanwhile, you are helping the evil Wonderland, cleaning the demon dwellers. You can also see the differences between us and the demon dwellers. Well, let's go to Black Rock Island. Although Shi Yen wanted to go to the Xia family and help Xia Xinyan restore her consciousness first, but now that the Kiara Sea was in chaos, there was also quite a distance from here to Xia family, and he doesn't know what will happen to him in the halfway, and since Mo. Duan Huin HD already arranged it like that, he felt that for the time being he should follow Mo. Duan Huin plan. The souls in the soul gathering pearl still need to precipitate for some time before they can be absorbed. There is not too much danger with the current state of Xia Xinya. As long as the Xia family weren't reckless, then there won't be any change in Xia Xinyan. He felt that he should wait until the souls in the soul-gathering pearl were ready to absorb. Then he can go to Xia family to see Xia Xinyan. Then let's go to the Black Rock Island. Tuoyuo nodded and flew the cyan blood bat toward the south. 3 days later, Shi Yen and Tuoyuo arrived at the Black Rock Island. The Black Rock Island was same as its name. The island stones were all dark brown. The natural energy in this island was very thin, with severe water shortage, and there weren't many plants in here. At first glance, there were many small black rock mountains everywhere. The land was uneven, and there were many pit holes. There are not many people who live on Black Rock Island, and also there are no skilled warriors who train here. This Black Rock Island only produces black spots copper, which is a spare material to make treasure and weapon with cold attribute and can't be called precious. On the Grace mainland, there are many places with black spots copper. Tuoyuo frowned and explained to Shi Yen. However, in the fourth magic area, there are no black spots coppers at all. I heard that some of the demon dwellers in the fourth demon area who practice cold skill need to absorb black spots copper into their body, so that they can be able to practice the secret skill. Some of the treasure that has been made by the demon dwellers needs to use black spots copper too. In here, the black spots coppers aren't too precious, but for the demon dwellers it is extremely useful, so the reason why the demon dwellers went to the Black Rock Island is probably for these coppers. Sure, Yen nodded slowly. Young Master Yen, the reason for the Yang family often go to the fourth demon area was also for the resources in there. Tuoyuo saw Shi Yen was listening seriously and decided to explain again. In the fourth demon area, there are many ores and exotic herbs, which disappeared from Grace Mainland or are non-existent in Grace Mainland. Those ores and herbs might not be precious in the demon area, but once they reached here, they are extremely rare. The Yang family often goes to the fourth demon area to mine ores and loot rare remedy and bring them into our world. Those ores and remedy became the most valuable resources to refine some special treasures and pills. The nutrition pills from Yang family, the immortal pills, and also other pills. Some of the main components are from the fourth demon area, and also many powerful secret treasures have also used the ores from the fourth demon area. The Yang family dared to vie with the demon dwellers for resources, ores, and herbs that didn't exist in this world. This was the reason why the Yang family is so strong, and many Yang warriors had secret treasures that is more powerful than others, and had pills that are more valuable than the others, and also their speed during cultivation is also faster than others. While mentioning these, Tuoyuo looked quite proud, because he too was a member of the Yang family. Shi Yin nodded slightly. Dared to go into the demon area and fight with demon dwellers for the resources. No wonder the Yang family was so powerful and had many skilled warriors. The cultivation of a warrior, besides talent and effort, the variety of resources also can't be lacking. A warrior who had many valuable resources, the speed of his cultivation was several times faster than the ones who had talent and effort. Sure, Yen was already well aware of this point. Tualuo was different from Mo Duanhuan. He loved to speak, and when Shi Yen asked, he would explain all the things that he knew about Yang family without hesitation. Through him, Shi Yen got a deeper understanding of Yang family, and gradually knew why the Yang family was so strong. On the Black Rock Island, there were many silhouettes standing at the peak of the Black Rock Mountain and seems like discussing something. In the crowd, He Ching Man, with a red leather armor and enchanting posture, looked like a blooming in the green leaves. He Ching Man slightly frowned, leaning against the Wind Thunder Lion, and admonished some disaster realm warriors from Evil Wonderland. Her mood doesn't seem to be good. The cyan blood bat slowly went down. He Ching Man looked up. Her peach eyes swept for a moment, and immediately saw Shi Yen. She was slightly surprised, waving her white hands to clear off the evil Wonderland warriors that surrounded her, slightly hummed, glanced up and said, "You are still not dead." Shi Yen sniffed, looked at her, and said, "I still haven't seen the wager that you promised, so how can I die?" He Ching Man's face blushed and immediately remembered the bet between her and Shi Yen, and coldly sneered, "Why did you come here?" To help you clean up the demon dwellers, Shi Yen walked down from the cyan bloodbat and walked toward He Ching Man. At the same time, Shi Yen looked around and evaluated these evil Wonderland warriors. At the mountain peak, there was a beautiful woman in Nirvana realm, including He Ching Man 4 Earth realm young warriors, and also 23 disaster realm warriors. Beside that beautiful woman, the age of the rest weren't too big. Seems like around 20 to 30 years old. These must be the young, skilled fighters that have been trained by Evil Wonderland. When Shi Yen was evaluating them, there were some people who secretly looked at him. There were several people who exposed their will to fight. Those people were the warriors that were admonished by He Ching Man. They seemed to find out that Shi Yen was disliked by He Ching Man, so they wanted to please He Ching Man through defeating Shi Yen. Translated by Wai. Chapter 191, Black Scale Tribe. Chapter 191, Black Scale Tribe. I will go first if I don't come pick you up after some time. Then there will be someone else who will come here. Tualuo sat on the cyan bloodbat and spoke loudly. Shi Yen nodded his head. Tualuo smiled at him and suddenly drove the cyan bloodbat and flew to the sky and soon disappeared. On the way to the Black Rock Island, Tualuo said that after he escorted him, he will take the dragon-slaying sword and leave for a few days. Shi Yen stayed in the 10,000-year-old volcano for 7 months, and during this time the Yang family already asked for an explanation from the Gu family. After the Gu family knew what Gu Jian, Gu and Gulai have done, they were also very furious, but they denied that this matter was related to the Gu family and only said that everything was Gu Jianga and his son's fault. Sure, Yen didn't know what the price that the Gu family had to pay, but from Tualuo's explanation, he knew that the Yang family demanded a lot of benefits. Not only they agreed to punish Gu Jianga, but also promised to return the dragon-slaying sword. Tualuo carried the dragon-slaying sword and went to the nearest Yang family mini-teleportation array to send out the dragon-slaying sword, so that the Yang family can use this dragon-slaying sword to exchange more benefits from the Gu family. Although Shi Yen didn't know what was the price that the Gu family had to pay, but he knew that this time the Yang family had the right to discuss, then the Gu family certainly suffered a major loss. Before Tualuo left, he admonished Shi Yen to be careful, and also said that if he didn't come, there will be another one that will come to Black Rock Island to find him, so he doesn't need to worry. Shi Yen calmly stayed down. At the peak, Shi Yen looked coldly and soon figured out the island's situation. That beautiful woman from the evil wonderland was named Lin Nan, with the cultivation of the second sky of Nirvana realm, and was ordered to clean up the demon dwellers on this island. After Lin Nan, besides He Ching Man, there was also 3 Earth realm warriors, 2 men and a woman, who are Peng Pei, Shuribai, and Shinidan. Among the 3, Peng Pei and Shuridan were in the first sky of Earth realm, and Shuribai was slightly higher, in the second sky of Earth realm. He Ching Man, Shuribai, Peng Pei, and Shin Yi, these 4 were quite young. The men were handsome and the women beautiful. Although Shan Yibin didn't look as dainty as He Ching Man, but she was also very beautiful, with her slender waist, voluptuous ass, a pair of watery eyes, and faint laughing expression. It made people wanting to rape her. These 4 were the skilled young generation warriors from the evil wonderland, and He Ching Man was the most outstanding amongst them, being the youngest and the most talented. The other 23 disaster realm warriors were also very young. This time they followed Lin Nan to Black Rock Island, was to train themselves, hoping through this experience to break through the bottleneck and step into a higher realm. The disaster realm, after experiencing a catastrophe, one can use his experience from the disaster realm to break through. These 23 disaster realm warriors were being led by He Ching Man, Shuribai, Peng Pei, and Shinidan, and were divided into 4 teams to trace the devil dwellers, and Lin Nan was responsible for managing these 4 Earth realm warriors, and to report the situation to Evil Wonderland at any time to prevent these future seeds being killed by the demon dwellers. Lin Nan's position in the Evil Wonderland wasn't low. Her big brother, Lin Hong, was an elder at the Evil Wonderland with the cultivation of the second sky of Sky Realm. Her second brother, Lin Su, was at the third sky of Nirvana Realm and organized and took care of the mining and herbs business in the 7 islands under the Evil Wonderland. Many people from the Lin family occupied important positions in the Evil Wonderland. Lin Nan herself was responsible for the training the skilled young warriors and dealing with the argument between those warriors. After Shi Yan came down from the Cyan bloodbath, Lin Nan had some doubts in her heart, as she didn't know Shi Yan's true identity. The warriors of Kiara Sea all knew that only a Shura blood guard can be equipped with a Cyan bloodbath. When Shi Yan came with the Cyan bloodbath, at first Lin Nan thought that Shi Yan was also one of the Shura blood guards, but after she saw the attitude of Tualuo toward Shi Yan, she knew that Shi Yan wasn't a Shura blood guard. And after some conversation between Shi Yan and He Ching Man, it made her secretly curious, and she guessed that Shi Yan must be a skilled young warrior from the Yang family. However, when Shi Yan introduced himself and said his name, Lin Nan became puzzled again. She was completely unfamiliar with Shi Yan's name. According to her understanding towards skilled young warriors from Yang family, she can certainly ensure that there was no Shi Yan in the Yang family. Shin Yidan, Peng Pei, Shuribai, those 3 also had some doubts after hearing Shi Yan's self-introduction, and when they looked at Shi Yan again, there was a slight disdain. They knew that those skilled young warriors from the Yang family, and when they saw Shi Yan wasn't one from the people they knew, plus Shi Yan's surname was Shi, they were sure that Shi Yan wasn't a direct descendant from the Yang family, and Shi Yan only had the cultivation of the second sky of Disaster Realm. Even though Tualuo's attitude toward Shi Yan was a bit strange, they still didn't mind it. How many demon dwellers are on the island? After the introduction from both sides, Shi Yan asked. As far as I know, there are about 50 or 60 demon dwellers. Of course, there may be more, Lin Nan explained. These demon dwellers are from the Black Scale tribe. Black Scale tribe. Shi Yan surprised. Lin Nan slightly frowned and surprised. You didn't know about the Black Scale tribe? Yes, Shi Yan nodded. No way. Dan Idan lightly screamed. In his eyes, there was a trace of disdain as he softly laughed. The Yang family and the demon dwellers have been fighting for so many years and often went in and out from the 4th demon area. As long as one is from the Yang family, their knowledge toward the demon dwellers should be deeper than us. You even didn't know about the Black Scale tribe. Then why did you come here? Peng Pei grunted and directly said, "Your cultivation is too low, but we're escorted by the Shura blood guard. At first, I thought it was because you understood the Black Scale tribe, so the Yang family let you came here to help us. But to think that you haven't even heard about the Black Scale tribe, I really don't know what is the purpose of the Shura blood guard to send you here." Sher Yubai frowned and shook his head, looking at Lin Nan, and smiled wryly. "Sister Nan, it appears that this isn't an aid but a trouble. I'm still can't be counted as one of the Yang family. I came to the Black Rock Island just to see the demon dwellers only," Shiyan said coldly as there was some unhappiness in his heart. "You aren't one of the Yang family?" The disdain in Shinidan eyes became heavier as he laughed. "This really scared me up. I thought you were one of the savages from the Yang family. Hee, but it is best, or we will be very awkward, ha. Now I am much more relaxed." "Yes, those savages from the Yang family. Each of them is very bossy. It is really difficult to work with them." Peng Pei also agreed by nodding his head and looked at Shuryen. "Brats, since you aren't one of them, then be honest. Don't act on your own, or if you are killed by the demon dwellers, don't blame us for not reminding you. Don't speak nonsense." Lin Nan stared at Peng Pei and Sher Yubai, although there was some dissatisfaction in her heart, but she didn't show it, but smiled and said to Shuryen, "Black Scale tribe is one of tribe from the demon dwellers, which has a black scale. Those scales are born naturally and are very hard. Some normal weapons can't even harm them. In addition, we only know a little about the Black Scale tribe. Recently we have been searching for those demon dwellers from Black Scale tribe in Black Rock Island, and even saw them, but they always avoided us and didn't fight with us, so we didn't know the characteristics from the Black Scale tribe." "Still hadn't fought?" Shuryen was stunned for a moment and nodded his head. "All right, I got it. I will be careful." Among those people, only He Ching Man knew Shuryen's identity, but she didn't remind the others. Seems like she can't wait for them to chatter Shuryen. And when Peng Pei and Sher Yu by cynicism Shuryen, He Ching Man slightly nodded her head, appearing in a good mood. Shuryen knew that He Ching Man wants to see him being humiliated. He slightly sighed in his heart, but he didn't show it, and only said to Lin Nan, "I really don't know anything about the demon dwellers. This time I came to here just to see the demon dwellers. As for the arrangement, you will do it, and I will try to follow you." "Not too bad." Lin Nan secretly nodded and expressed satisfaction toward Shuryen's humility, and in her heart she was more certain that Shuryen wasn't one of the Yang family member. The disdain in Shinidan's eyes became even more obvious. If he really from the Yang family, how could he be so humble? Those guys from Yang family, which one of them is not hard-edged, not bossy, didn't look down on the others. "Today we will rest here. Tomorrow morning we will go to the nearby mines to see." It said that the dark copper is very precious in the demon area, and seems like those demon dwellers from Black Scale tribe, who practice some secret martial arts, really depend on dark copper. Maybe those demon dwellers from Black Scale tribe are hiding in the mines, Lin Nan said. Everyone nodded his head to show that they understood. "Shuryen, have a good rest. Tomorrow morning you come with us." Lin Nan looked at Shuryen. Shuryen nodded. "Come with me. I have something to ask you." He Ching Man rode on the Wind Thunder Lion while looking coldly at Shuryen and said. Lin Nan, Peng Pei, Shinidan were suddenly stunned for a moment and looked strangely toward He Ching Man. Sher Yubai frowned. In his eyes flashed a trace of coldness. While he looked at Shuryen and then at He Ching Man, his face didn't look good. Shuryen looked indifferent as he saw expression everyone's faces. He rode on the Wind Thunder Lion leisurely and sat beside He Ching Man without saying a word. He Ching Man didn't show any surprise to Shuryen, who sat beside her. She straightened her legs and kicked the Wind Thunder Lion. Under the cold look from Sher Yubai, the Wind Thunder Lion flew into the sky and left the mountain and flew toward Stone Forest, not far from there. "Big brother Sher, seems like He Ching Man is a bit interested in this guy." Peng Pei looked at the disappeared Wind Thunder Lion and immediately said to Sher Yubai, "But it shouldn't be a good intention, and looks like He Ching Man has some resentment towards that brat." She wanted to meet him alone. Maybe it's not a good intention. Sure Yubai gently nodded his head, said, "Looks like that kid has an unlucky life. Qingman's sight is very high, so it can't be that she liked him. She wanted to meet him alone. Certainly it was for teaching him a lesson." "Maybe not," Sure Edon hesitated a moment and said, "After that kid came here, Qingman's expression was a bit weird. Seems like there was a blush in her face. Don't know what happened between them, though." Sure Yubai's eyes suddenly became cold. Translated by Wai. Chapter 192 The Shadow at Dark Night. Chapter 192 The Shadow at Dark Night. A dark forest formed from odd-shaped black rocks. As it turned dark, the black rock island turned white, without any sound from a living creature, which made it quite depressing. In the stone wood, the Wind Thunder Lion was lying on the ground lazily, gazing at Qingman and Sure Yan standing in front of a dark stone and watching the surroundings carefully. "You'd better leave the Black Rock Island right away." Qingman appeared very serious. "You don't know the situation here, or the population of demon dwellers, or their ability. You are merely at the second sky of Disaster Realm, and we won't have time to take care of you. Once we are in a battle with the demon dwellers, no one would be there to protect you." As soon as Qingman got off the Wind Thunder Lion, she tried to persuade Sure Yan to leave. "It's fine. I don't need anyone's protection. You don't have to protect me even if I face any demon dwellers." Sure Yan shook his head indifferently. "I won't leave the Black Rock Island for now. Once the Dark Scale tribe members are cleaned, I will leave by myself." "You?" Qingman glared at Sure Yan. "If it was not Lord Mo who helped my father and me a lot on martial arts on the Fire Cloud Island, I wouldn't even look at you. Do you think you, a Disaster Realm warrior, can survive under the hands of the Black Scale tribe without our protection?" Sure Yan frowned and said indifferently, "It's none of your business." Clenching her teeth, Qingman then took a deep breath as she stared at Sure Yan in anger. "My senior fellow apprentice is coming." "Your senior fellow apprentice?" Sure Yan was playing with the black stones in his hand. "What's it got to do with me?" "He admires Sister Sinyan for a long time and got really angry after he heard what you have done to her. If he found out that you are here, you will be a dead person." Qingman was rather straightforward. "How did he know about Sinyan and me?" Sure Yan grounded the stone in his hand, raised his head and stared at Qingman. "You told him." Qingman blinked her eyes and replied, "So what? You are so cold-hearted to Sister Sinyan, afraid now? Nuts." Sure Yan cursed. "You are nuts." Qingman's expressions changed, and she yelled angrily, "Now Lord Mo is not here, no one could protect you. Do you want me to teach you a lesson? You can have a try." Sure Yan narrowed his eyes and his face turned cold. "You are not afraid of death, right?" Qingman was surprised by Sure Yan's reaction. "Do you know how vicious Siekue, my senior fellow apprentice, is? If he wants to teach you a lesson, he can make you die in the hands of the demon dwellers. I know him very well. He would do that." Siekue was the top expert among the young generations on the evil Wonderland, with twin martial spirits of wood and earth, and was at the third sky of Earth Realm, a notorious figure in the Kiara Sea. Sure Yan had heard of him from Toyo, knowing that he was very fond of Xia Xinyan for a long time, and found various excuses just to meet her in the Xia family several times. This guy was at a high position in the evil Wonderland, thus many girls admired him a lot. But he had always been trying to win Xia Xinyan's affection. Since he knew this guy, Sure Yan disliked him. Scared. Seeing Sure Yan turned silent when he heard the news, Qingman raised her head a little. "It's not too late to be scared. For Minister Mo's sake, I can ask the Wind Thunder Lion to take you away from the Black Rock Island. You can leave right away to settle on a nearby island, and the Yang family would pick you up from there." "Who said I want to go?" Sure Yan said indifferently. He Qingman's prideful face disappeared as she asked, "You are going to stay and let him attack you? You don't know how formidable he is, do you? No matter how capable he is, I won't leave." Shi Yan replied firmly. He Qingman stared at him for a long time. Then she nodded. "I have no idea what to do if you insist on seeking death. Good luck." "Okay, thank you for your information," Shi Yan said calmly. "You are welcome." He Qingman looked rigid as she looked up at the stars in the sky. Then she took out a fan and sat down against a black stone behind her. "Let's take a rest here tonight and meet them on the mountain top next morning." Shi Yan nodded and sat down on the ground silently, regardless of the dust. He knew He Qingman was cared for him, but she was too proud, which made Shi Yan unhappy. But he didn't do anything to her. Closing his eyes, Shi Yan drowned his spirit into the blood vein ring. Inside the blood vein ring, the ice-cold flame and the earth core fire coexisted while being sealed in two separate regions. "My energy and qi is totally sealed, so you must be careful. I will not be able to help you." From the blood vein ring came the ice-cold flame's message. "The ring spirit knows it is the key stage for the advancement of the earth core fire, so it sealed me to prevent any harmful influence of my ice cold." "How long does it take for the earth core fire to advance?" "I don't know, 1 or 2 years or 10 years. Remember, you have to keep using your spirit to communicate with it while the earth core fire is advancing. Then it will remember you and treat you as family." "Okay, got it." Shi Yan paused and asked, "You know anything about the demon dwellers from the Black Scale tribe?" The Black Scale tribe, the ice-cold flame, seemed to be pondering. After a while, it seemed to remember something about the Black Scale tribe and answered, "The Black Scale tribe was one of the 7 tribes in the demon area and were born with hard black scales. The Black Scale tribe lived in dark places and hide their bodies in dark. At night, they could easily turn invisible." "You met demon dwellers from the Black Scale tribe?" "Not yet, but soon." "Remember, don't fight with the Black Scale tribe at night. Plus, the Black Scale tribe scales are not only hard, but could also shoot out sword-like scales at a crucial moment. So when you are fighting against them, pay attention to their black scales. Once the scales started to shake, you should retreat as soon as possible, because that is the sign that the black scales are about to shoot." "Okay, got it." "Pay attention to the soul-gathering pearl. Though it can't absorb souls now, it can still percept souls. Leave a wisp of spirit power on the soul-gathering pearl. So once the demon dwellers of the Black Scale tribe approach, you can feel them with the help of the soul-gathering pearl. At night, formidable dwellers of the Black Scale tribe would hide their bodies and souls. You can hardly sense them by yourself." "I know." Shi Yan was surprised secretly. The dwellers of the Black Scale tribe could turn invisible at night. After communicating with the ice-cold flame, Shi Yan didn't dare to look down upon those demon dwellers. Opening his eyes and taking out the soul-gathering pearl, Shi Yan let out a wisp of spirit power and merged it into the soul-gathering pearl. The spirit power going into the soul-gathering pearl and felt warm and comfortable. The power of soul was flowing inside the soul-gathering pearl as if magical fluids. Although it couldn't absorb the soul power directly, his spirit power enjoyed itself a lot in it as if swimming in a spring. After his spirit power went into the soul-gathering pearl, Shi Yan's senses turned acute at once, as if exaggerated by the soul-gathering pearl by several times. Now Shi Yan could sense his surroundings clearly. Clouds of vicious air went into his head. Shi Yan's expression changed at once. Through the soul-gathering pearl, he could clearly feel that 300 meters away from He Qingman and him, there gathered several clouds of living air. He counted roughly and found there were no less than 30 clouds. The Black Scale tribe. Shocked, Shi Yan hurried to sense how powerful were they. There were 4 clouds of air that were extremely intense, which must be from experts at Earth Realm. and the rest were at Disaster Realm. He Ching Man. Shi Yan yelled. What are you shouting for at this time of night? He Ching Man's eyelash shook, but she didn't open her eyes. I guess we are encircled. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.